Damn it. I can't stop the heterocyclic declination.
We need a biomolecular physiologist in here. This man is dying.
It is broken. Can you make it go?
Damn it. I can't stop the heterocyclic declination.
We need a biomolecular physiologist in here. This man is dying.
Hey, my name's Rachel Antral. I play Commander Non on Star Trek Discovery. Welcome to Timeline Talks.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live in Technicolor from the beautiful Hollywood Hills, California. The show where the total retail price of their advice is $0. This is Timeline Talks. Featuring guest stars, Lord of Action Figure Collector, Kapla, It Stars and Garter. Also featuring, that's easy for you to say, it's BigMcLargeHuge. More like Command Dip Suck. Look out, it's Automaton 2000. And now, bringing the Bants drinking beer that's 2 packs. Here's your host, Captain Idol.
Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Timelines Talks, the premium #1 exclusive show for all things Star Trek Timelines. I am your host, Captain Idol. I am joined by my 3 ever-faithful companions, Automaton 2000, BigMcLargeHuge, and Stars and Garters. Welcome, gentlemen, to another week. And I have to say, this week we are going to be the beacon of positivity, are we not? Are we not going to be the big...
I was not notified of this in advance.
This show sucks!
You can talk about the show all you like, but...
all of a sudden I have something else I need to be doing now.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so maybe last week me and Stars got a little bit vitriolic and a little bit a little bit on the negative side. And yeah, that was had a few messages saying, are you all right? And like, maybe we're not. So I had a little bit of a break from the game. Thank you, Auto, for keeping my dailies going during that brief pin. So I had a bit of a refresh.
I would never log on a fellow player's account. I don't know.
No, of course you wouldn't. I actually flew to Germany and gave you my phone. That's what happened.
Do you even play on a phone?
No, I play on my iPad.
Still a TOS violation, but whatever.
Yeah, well, we haven't done that a few times. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to have a positive, and thank you very much to JFrader421 for just subscribing to us right now. And I don't know why.
Where's the red alert?
I don't know. I don't know why that didn't trigger. So, God.
It meant changing the bulb, so he didn't do it.
You need a manual button. I
do need a manual. That's a good idea, actually. I will do that one. And also, thank you to Racing Linus for gifting out two subs to our viewers as well. So thank you very much. So first, quick announcements before we get into the meat of the show. We will be having another Star Trek Adventure stream soon. We had a bit of a delay on it because we're all very busy people, and we sort of drifting between drifting between continents is quite hard to organise sometimes. So we can kind of only do it on a weekend. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll put a date out to say when the part 2 of Stars' amazing next campaign shall be coming up. So I'm really looking forward to that.
We'll see how many innocent science staff you can injure this time.
I mean, I'm still stuck on the part where you're blaming the delay on continental drift. Is that? I mean, is that?
Yes, there's.
I think he means the Pacific Rim style of drift. Like we all have to be like compatible.
No, it's the Tokyo drift. I just stuck watching the Fast and Furious over and over again.
That is torture.
So this show tonight, we're going to be spinning the wheel in a minute for our faithful viewers to win a sub. We will be going through various player resources that have updated this week. We'll go through the event crew. Going to have a look at the Innovator Mega and how that has shaped up over time. We're going to have another editions of the Timelines Talks Originals, or not Fake Crew. This is going to be the Fairhaven edition. Yeah.
Everyone's favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone turns off immediately.
We're going to have Maggie O'Halloran as a cow and other favorites.
Corsages for everyone.
And bad Irish accents. I will oblige.
Tevrin Krit, the game's first Tellarite, much demanded. Space Shatner. He went up there and he came back down, and he's still here to talk about it. And maybe if we get time, if it's not too late, maybe we'll do a little bit of What the Dove. But first of all, as we always do every week, is a shout out, and this is going to be 2 weeks worth of shout outs because last week I was playing a Deep Space Nine game.
Well, hold on. Before we get to the event stuff, I just noticed Twitch has a little notification. If you're first time chatting in on the show from a viewer, so Epilardus, welcome to the channel.
Welcome. I have not seen that.
Your service is appreciated.
You are. Yes, so event winners this week. So congratulations, first of all, to this Cisco one for getting a 5/5, Calhaya Cisco. And by the way, they have actually...
Cisco with a Cisco?
Cisco with a Cisco. It's like, it's fate. It's like poetry. It rhymes. WRG actually changed the apostrophe to a curly one, which is to the dismay of myself and Ineffable and anyone who writes spreadsheets. That's going to be a major difficulty in the future. But so thank you for that, WRG. Other names to note in that event: Nolian at number 6, Genocidanian, guest and moderator of the sub, and number 8, our very own BigMcLargeHuge at number 10.
Yeah,
huzzah!
Get it.
Cubase's Data at number 15, Maelstrom at 21, Carini 25, Blue Angel at 27, and the best name in all the game, Smokahontus 420 at number 48. And apparently some guy called Automaton 420 at 420. Automaton 2000.
Somebody's been baking brownies.
Get some. At 51.
How many beers did you have pre-show, by the way?
One.
It's not beers. They're just liquefied pot.
Yeah. Big. Before we talk about the next week, Big, talk us through your number 10 win on that one. How was that for you?
Well, actually, it's my second top 10 finish in a faction event. Yeah, well, because I didn't get a shout out the first time, asshats. But anyway.
Titles division. I don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah, no. The first one was the Adira Tal, except it wasn't Adira Tal event, which that worked out great for me because I ended up with both of those Adira at tons of stars. But anyway,
fuck of Adira just coming your way.
Yeah. But it really wasn't something that I planned in advance. I had tried to go for top 100 for the Human Saru faction event, and I finished like 105th, which is really painful, and I still don't like thinking about it. But as a result of that, I completely bottomed out on everything that I had as far as boosts and time reducers and all of that. So this was right about when I had built back up to where I was thinking about maybe doing a run again. And it just seemed like there was nobody really pushing that hard early on. So I found, okay, well, I'll go for it and see how it works out. And thankfully it worked out fantastically. It's weird to say, but it felt relatively easy to finish 10th in this.
Why don't you just tear off your shirt and start flexing for us? That might be a little more subtle, you know?
Yeah, you should have just changed your name to BigMcLargeHuge NBD.
So did
Mr.
you?
Worldwide.
The question is, did you put the site on that Cisco?
I have not yet.
Ooh.
Mostly because I want I want to do some recaps, so I want to have all of my options open still.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
But if I make it out of recaps without an extra star on Cisco, he will be getting a site for sure.
Excellent.
By the way, as a small aside, a lot of people are saying recaps look good this time, so maybe we'll do some kind of stream for it or something. I don't know.
Very well. That could well be on the cards. We shall work out what we're doing for that.
I'll just walk in with one dilating crystal. Like, how many recaps can this get me, sir?
You can have a toothbrush and a novelty comb. Right. So next event for
blue. Fuck you.
Next event for 505 Hollow Engineer Zimmerman. LR's very own Flash was the winner for that, so congratulations to them. Savior of the universe. Mahon at number 2, Nolian number 6, and these are notable names that we know and recognise from viewers, and 12-hour voyages.
No, this list is notable. Everyone else who won, fuck you.
No, fuck them. We Are Borg at number 11, Blue Angel at 20, I Am Kirok number 21, Loki 22, Automaton 20. I can't get your name right tonight.
Bro.
This guy at 25.
Bro, how long have we been doing this show?
I called you something else in my head. Evans of Wales at 29, Ishmael Marks 37, SSR's very own Bry at 41, Genos again 49, BigMcLargeHuge at 50, and just stepping ever so slightly out of the top 50. There's a little Captain Idol. A number 63, just because I got there.
Give yourself a shout out when you're
giving myself a shout out. Fuck it.
Because he knows because there's no way for anybody else to verify it. So because it's not on the front page.
Unless you score like 10 and below.
I'm going to open up this event hub, and it appears that you're not actually there. No one can verify.
Well, fine. I mean, I'll just put back my 3 of 5 Zimmerman. Never mind. But yes. So also,
you level him anyway. What's the point?
I've leveled him. He's a mortal bitch. Also, I mean, you're no stranger to a skirmish win. Like, how was this one for you? Because my aim was I want to get into top 50 so I can shout myself out, which I had to do anyway. But this seemed to be quite a struggle to get that far up.
Nice shout out.
But you're no stranger to the top ranks of the skirmishes. Like, what was the competition like at that area? Like, what made you not go and push for number 1?
So, gentlemen, 90% of the game is mental. Before you even pick up the phone, you know if you're going to win or lose the event. No, is
this like that thing people say in jail where, like, if you have the right mindset, there's only like 2 days that you're in jail, the day you go in and the day you way out? It's like, if you have the right mindset for skirmish, it's only the first ship back on the last ship.
No, you find the biggest ship in the yard and you kick its ass on day 1. That's what you do.
Creighton, you're my bitch now, Creighton. You're my bitch. All right, so if you know what rank you're going for, it's not so bad. But I figured, I wanted a few copies. This is a good card. We recognize a lot of names on the top because a lot of you viewers share the kind of crew that we like. Voyager's a good stat.
Players like a good crew. Who would have thought?
Yeah, so I wanted a few copies. I tell you what, if you don't know where you're going to land, it's a lot more difficult because I actually lived my life this weekend. So every time I pick up my phone, I'm like, dang, I should probably get back to skirmishing because a lot of people are ahead of me. So in that regard, it's not nearly as fun, but at least you have a lot more free time. So I don't know if it's more competitive than usual, but it's a skirmish, so always competitive because there's great rewards attached.
It's hard work. I mean, I think, I don't often get that high in a skirmish. Like, I think I sat at about 4 million. I was looking at top 50. I was thinking, let's get us another 1 million VP. I'm this now like Sunday night. I don't have time for this. I will try and stay where I am so I can get my 3 copies. But I definitely chucked the extra 2 sites on Zimmerman and got him up. But did you do, guys? Did you put the Big and Auto? Did you put the sites on him? I know Stars. You were 1-5. You were 1-200 or something?
I actually had to work this weekend, so I wasn't able to compete as much as I would have liked to. I would have liked to get 3 copies. I only got the 2 at 540.
Only 2,
I think. But since I'm going to be doing recaps, that's not much of a problem. Like, I'm hoping to get at least 1 or 2 stars out of that. So he will get cited at some point because he's just that good.
Okay, let us move on, and we are going to be spinning the wheel. So thank you to all our subscribers and fans of readers in the Discord for submitting show titles, and we are going to spin the wheel for everyone that put an entry on. So the wheel should be coming on the screen now. We are going to spin it and see who wins a sub to the site for this month. It shall be, drumroll please, Looksy! Congratulations, Look. Let us know, because I believe you have a sub at the moment. Let us know when your sub expires, and we will grant you the gift of a sub, which gives you access to our sub-only channel, which there might be a few little goodies in there, and also advert-free viewing on this channel. So bonus. That's our current bonuses at the moment. Okay. I'm gonna
to be our friend.
You do. You get to be our very special subscriber. And just as a little clarification, all the subs that we raise will be going to the charity.
My vacation.
We'll go to go to all those times also to the hot tub.
A special program you're starting called Manuel Watch.
Oh, we forgot the Mitchell Watch stuff this week. Next time.
We'll do it next time. We've got plenty of fodder. But just to let everyone know that all the subs and any donations that come in will go to our next charity stream. I just literally have had our first paycheck come through, which was £63, which is now sitting with us. So that will be forward through to our next charity day. We don't make any money off this. We're no interest in that. So all your subs go straight to the charity.
We actively lose money, in fact.
We do, yeah. Well, I do. But no, it's all
the people watching right now are paid audience members. So
yes. Okay.
Well, it's all paid by audience members, and then there's Jodmos, who's like there clicking the button relentlessly for hair flips.
that's true.
Just give me more so I can make them say stuff. Okay. Otto, over to you, because we've had a bit of a player resource update, and there's a few things going on. There's some updates happening.
So a few different things. First of all, we sort of missed the segue into sub chat, but I dropped something in there right before the show. About 6 weeks ago, we came on and talked a little bit about the Big Book 2.0 revival resource that No Name Namer and myself are primarily working on. And so it is, again, a little ways away. Turns out it's really hard doing all that work, and it takes a little while. But it is coming, and so we dropped a little sneak peek in sub chat, so you can go there, check it out. It is... I won't spoil what it is, but it is a feature that people have been asking for forever.
I think it was one of the main complaints about the Big Book, I would say. Like one of the
complaints? No one.
Sorry, I kept those back for you. I didn't want to hurt you, and just want to filter them one at a time through to, you know.
So anyway...
I forget. Were people actually annoyed about a character being tier 2.5 for a while? I feel like I remember that.
What was that? Spock? It was
it was
Science Officer Spock,
2.5. He was the only 2.5 tier, and it was. I remember that annoying somebody, and I was like, "Yeah, you're annoyed. Yeah, you're annoyed."
The DataCore team, because they had to improvise around it.
Coincidentally, not to turn this into an impromptu Big Book chat, but I mean, is there a character who has fallen off harder, faster than Science Officer Spock?
Yes, Mirror Stamets.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Former tier 1.
Right into the fucking ground.
Basically, if we tier crew highly, you should run away from them and go in the other direction.
Yeah, no, Locutus, like Red Angel, Gary 7, Braxton, total losers.
Zintara Odo, assimilated LaForge.
Okay, in my defense, that was like 4 years ago that I had him in tier 1. Okay, the game changes.
Leonardo da Vinci.
That loser.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is our brief update. As we get closer to being able to launch, you'll probably hear a little bit more about that. It is really cool. I wish I could be neuralized like in Men in Blacks and experience it all fresh, because there's a lot of cool stuff coming. One more thing before we move on to the other player resources. Of course, I would click on the link. Please load. So Shan said earlier today on the forums, talking about, when you first log in and next week's event pops up, just like when you click anything, there's lots of pop-ups. They're looking into fixing that so that next week's event will pop up. Sometimes that spoils some of the storyline accidentally. So I know that's a thing that annoys pretty much everyone. So maybe that's one fewer pop-up hopefully down the line. So I want to make sure everyone's aware of that.
It usually only annoys me when they don't bother to put up the event art. And they get bombarded with, here's a story, you don't get to see any of it.
Hey, they were on time this week, so...
They were, that's very true. Positivity, they are doing better.
It got approved. Well done, guys, the art got approved! That's positive, right? Woo! Sorry. I'm going from positive to sarcastic. That's a step, right? Sorry, negative to sarcastic. Okay, carry on, please.
Baby steps.
That's back to you, young man. By the way, you look smart in glasses.
Thank you very much. These are my... I've actually had to send a pair of my glasses back because I wasn't quite happy with them. So I've only got the 2 pairs. So if you claim the hair flips change glasses, I shall only be swapping between 2 pairs this week.
Someone reclaim it 10 times in a row so that he has 2 pairs of glasses on his face at the same time.
No, so, people are saving the hair flips for recite some trick because we realize
there we go. He's fucking done it, hasn't he? Got to open my case. I've never had a... Do you know, I really found that glasses are the most annoying thing ever. Like, I thought, people with cool glasses be fine. No. You get all the shit on your lenses. You have to clean them constantly, and you constantly catch your own reflection out the corner of your eye and thinking it's... No, it's... Anyway...
If you're catching your own reflection out of the corner of your eye, you might have something else going on, like a possession or a ghost.
Yes.
I do have to say it's a little odd being the only non-bespectacled host at this point now.
Don't worry, your eyes will fail eventually.
It'll happen.
Yeah, hey,
Comes for us all.
shut your mouth. Come on now.
2020 vision.
2010 vision.
20 over there. 20 over there. Okay, so...
Tell you what, when this show is still running in 10 years, I will write down on a piece of paper, I'm sorry, Big, and if you can read it without glasses, then I'll say sorry.
Amazing. Okay, so yes, there's been, again, player resource updates. I have updated my own very own player resource. We have a new version of Captain Idle's DataCore analysis sheet, or CIDAS for short. And I shall bring it up on screen now. I have actually added and improved upon my collection screen, which is a bit squished here because I had to squish it over for the tape of the show. But you can now customize your collection screen. You can actually, it will filter by super rares first, so you can kind of get a good idea about what you'll need to complete that collection. And now I'm explaining it. This sounds a lot more nerdy than it actually should be. But this is kind
as he pushes up his glasses.
Yeah, it's just a habit of like very anime kind of.
More nerdy or appropriately nerdy? I think it's appropriately.
Very
nerdy.
appropriately, yes. This kind of stemmed from sheets I was keeping of my own stuff. Of like, you know, I needed to know because I'm collection bad. I can't help that. Like, who do I need to complete this collection? Do they fill other collections? What stars do I have them at? Because like the more collections are added, this is harder to keep track of. And I sort of went, you know what? I'll expand this into CIDAS. And yeah, this is here. You can filter out collections that you don't have or you have completed as well. So this will only show. So for example, Abraham Lincoln is going to be one of my best resourceful to complete because yeah, he's in about 2 other collections. I've got him at 3 or 5 stars. So I spent quite a lot of time at work doing this and boss walking into the room going, oh, you're busy, I'd better go.
Okay, so like that's a tier 1 way to dodge work is by fake doing work.
Yeah.
Second of all, I don't know if I can trust any sheet that recommends you put stars on Abraham Lincoln, but I don't know.
To be fair, that is for a resourceful. So like this will sort it by, you know, which is the biggest collection as well. So if we look at I don't know, New Life and New Civilization. So it's it's recommending me Abraham Lincoln again, because he's a diplomat. So he's a diplomat. He, you know, I want to finish this. I want to get to 60 on this collection. So you know, and it will automatically filter by how many crew you have. You know, so it's like you see here. You know, I need just to get to 60. I just need these 3 crew: Lieutenant Giorgio, Locutus of Borg. It's not bad, but you know. Okay, I need to ask you guys a question. Okay, how do you feel now? There are more crew in the Gauntlet. About citing Gauntlet crew.
I'm again it. I am again it.
No,
that's
still no.
Okay, so
No.
I've been mulling this quite heavily because I'm actually updating just today. Even I was updating the notes for Big Book 4 Gauntlet crew, and I thought now I have hopped around accounts a little bit, but this particular account is at 16,000 Gauntlet rounds. So over a year of playing. And I have 1 star on Caretaker and 1 star on Armis. Now, am I expecting to play for 6 more years to finish them all naturally? Or maybe I want the benefit in the next 3 years, say. So I know people say, oh, you'll get them for free eventually. Yeah, maybe. But right now, because if it drops an exclusive crew, you have a 50% chance of the current one, which is Baylock. 50% chance at one of the old ones divided by, there's 5 right now, so there's a 10% chance. You know, how often do you get a Gauntlet drop? How active are you? Are you in a bad time zone? Maybe don't always finish in first place or even in the top 10. So it can get real tricky. So as I was going through those notes, you know, I try to think, well, is this crew worth a dupe? Do they perform still well on voyages like Red Angel? Or can you take more than one like Baylock because he has a lot of crit? So I mean, it's easy for us veterans or people who already have them done to say, no, they'll come eventually, but they might not come for 5, 6, 7 years. So
exactly. I'm still waiting on that last R for Locutus and for Red Angel as well, you know, and I'm looking at them being in many collections. You know, Red Angel, she's in Inspiring, which I'm getting near to 60 on, and in A Little Stroll, which I have the crew to fill now, and Locutus being Borg and Diplomat, you know, I'm thinking I might not get them.
One other one?
Borg.
Is he Inspiring? Or?
Yeah, okay.
Is he? Hang on. Oh, maybe.
No,
I don't remember.
No,
More
I don't think
Well, the
Diplomat
Gauntlet
and-
collection as well.
Diplomat, Gauntlet, and Borg. So there you are. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you, Skycam. So yeah, now I'm thinking about citing. I want to finish that collection soon. Do I want to wait and then not complete it, or hope that there is another inspiring super rare that comes out? You got to balance up to what you feel.
Yeah, they're frequent.
And so I'm thinking one site each. That's not bad invest, and they're both good voyages. I get to use them straight away. So 2 sites is not expensive in the long run.
Now, these are these are well articulated points that have a lot of logic behind them, and I can see that logic. But on the other hand, I have to kind of express the gut reaction that I have, which is sort of related to something else that happened to me. A bit of a milestone, I suppose, although not necessarily a positive one. I had my first All Frozen Golden Behold this week.
Commiserations.
And
by the way, poll in chat. I want to hear from you guys whether or not you'd consider citing Gauntlet Crew. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So I had my first All Frozen Gold Behold, and to be fair, it was a really good one. I could have easily started a dupe of 2 out of the 3 crew that were there. But I think of that feeling of, what I got when I saw it was like an opportunity of gold, and I had them all finished. And then I think of like every time I get an extra Caretaker or an extra Armus that drops in Gauntlet, and I'm like, oh. Because it's like that gold item fake out you get when it's like, oh, gold, and then it's Shran's dueling Gauntlet. Fucking thanks. And it's like, the idea that magnified by every other Gauntlet card that I've then finished, like, maybe it's, like, I have the kind of mindset that suits itself really well for survival horror games, where it's all about resource management, about being really, really picky about what you do and don't use. So maybe I've got the brain rot where it's like, don't use anything unless it's like the maximum efficiency. So maybe that's part of it, and that's disclaimer. But I do feel like there is an argument to be made for like the maximum efficiency versus the minimum efficiency of a site, where it's something like, I suppose the theoretical maximum efficiency site you could possibly do in the game is someone like Kalis or Borg Queen 7, who you are never, ever going to get a copy of again. Like, theoretically, that's the maximum value, right? Whereas Gauntlet is theoretically the least efficient, because you could get one in 5 minutes and then in an hour. It doesn't work out that way, because it never does. And, like, that's the theoretical part. But it's sort of like, that's my gut reaction, and why even though it makes a ton of logical sense, and I'm like, yeah, though, that the numbers do work out, and thank you. I appreciate that. The numbers do work out, and they make sense, but I'm just like, in the back of my head, like, yeah, that makes sense. Never going to do it.
So here's my counter to all the arguments, and it mainly devolves down to this. Fuck Gauntlet. I hate the Gauntlet. The only reason I'm playing the Gauntlet is to get these stupid exclusive crew. The less Gauntlet I play, the better. So if I can get, I've got Armus and Caretaker finished, so I get dupes of those. I airlock them. If I can get those last stars, or if I can cite them, and so I don't have to play Gauntlet ever again, yay! Until they put something good in Gauntlet that isn't trainers and trash, then. Sorry, positive stream, positive.
Idle, aren't you such a massive fan of the Rest in Peace campaign crates for those? It's like those. Doing that, but way worse.
But they're not as good.
The place they still are anymore.
Ben was talking about putting campaign crates in Gauntlet, and maybe that would be great. Cool. But
they are there. That's where the loot comes from.
But kind of, they're not quite the same. They're not as. I don't know. There's some
targeted.
It's different flavor. It's a different flavor of crate.
They're little timelines gremlins. They crawl through the bowels of Gauntlet, and they have to find all the little gold items, and they gather them up and they stuff them into the crates, and then they walk back and deliver them to the campaign people, and then they ship it on down the line. You have no idea what is involved in creating campaign crates. Okay. So, cut him a little slack. It was hard work.
Okay.
I get a subscription for Campaign Crate Prime, where else I get it next day.
It hasn't been said yet. We've said it before. It's an automaton point, and I'm going to be piggybacking on it. That Gauntlet collection, it's only those crew can complete that collection. And so if your goal is completing all the collections and you don't want to play Gauntlet all the time, you don't want to wait, however many years it takes to get these crew, then yes, of course, citing them makes all the sense in the world, especially if you're a noted Gauntlet hater such as our own Captain Idle. But
wait, so he hates Gauntlet, he hates Expedition. Is there part of the game that you do love?
He likes collections.
I love collections.
Okay.
I still gotta
Feed it
finish
to
that
my
song.
dopamine.
But anyway, but it's like for me, it just I'm close enough, and this is all it's all personal bias. Whatever your answer is going to be, it's going to come down to your own personal biases and your personal situations. You can try and be an objective about it, but it's like I have all of them done except for Baylock, and I've got a couple of stars on Baylock now, so it just makes the most sense to me to play the long game and just kind of wait things out and hope that those last 3 stars come. Maybe if it comes to the point where they add another Gauntlet crew and I haven't finished Baylock, then it might make more sense to start thinking about citing the crew that are going to drop less frequently when they're not the featured crew.
The more they dilute that resource, then it's going to be.
For our podcast listeners,
Do you think he gets used if he gets fused?
the results of the poll, would you consider citing Gauntlet crew? 67% say sure, why not? 24% say never. 10% say only if I need a lot of stars on them. So I know we are a collection of veteran, longtime players, and we may already have a leg up on how many stars we have. But I think for someone jumping in now, it's not going to kill you to side them up. If you don't have a ton of fused golds, even the bad Voyagers are going to make Voyages. Even the bad base crew, are going to make it when they get a bonus. So it's all relative.
Yeah, no, as a pool of crew, only 2 of them are quote unquote bad Voyagers, and you say their collection value is through the roof. It's just a case of I don't know. It's the kind of thing that's very much colored by your personal experience in the game. I went nearly a year without a single Red Angel, and then I had her finished within a month through ridiculous drop luck, and it's the kind of thing where if you go a year without a single drop of you've got 1 Red Angel and that's all you've gotten, sure, but it's going to come down to what you feel is the best way to play the game, your play style. It depends if you have the brain rot like I do.
And it also depends on how you feel about airlocking extra goals when you get them. Because if you're okay with doing that, then by all means, side them all up.
But I
That's the point.
Would you be happy with a 550 honor drop from a 3 streak box?
I would be.
That's
I think we
look
all
at it like that, I suppose.
Blue trainers or 550 honor.
Yeah, that's true. And it does also come down to philosophy on duping
This
as
is
well.
not the rhetoric. We want more from airlocking gold. Stop it.
It's 550 honor covered in Metamucil and printer's ink is what it is.
They know something's got me.
Okay. Also, another community resource that has been updated is, in fact, the DataCore. There has been a wonderful new voyage calculator added to... For people that have used it before, they've been making some improvements.
Idle?
Yes, hello.
I am confused. Is it DataCore or DataCore? I forget.
Depends which region of Utah you're from. Utica.
There's an exit
is not.
DataCore. It's actually...
This is the DataCore voyage update. There's a fine line between Klingon and French, isn't there? Just all spitting at some point. Apologies to all our French viewers out there. So yes, there is a new DataCore update, as you can see on your screens. Apologies, podcast viewers. There is a new voyage calculator where you can actually select between the original or the multi-vector assault one, and it will, as usual, it will automatically pick out the event crew that you shouldn't use. Although I'm going to say bugger all that because I'm running a voyage right now. I've heard a few people say maybe it's not picking the right ship traits. I think they are looking into that. But let's run this and see what it comes out with, because I know a lot of people saying that with wider rosters, why aren't they picking certain crew, and there are a few faults there, and they are looking into it. I believe I can't remember the 2 guys that we're looking at. I believe Joshua Tree is one of them, somewhere else as well. And I think No Name Namer is helping out as well at some point once he's finished with his big bookwork.
So this is essentially rectifying the bias that I've heard that is against certain crew, like Red Angel. I think Gary 7 were the most obvious ones where they had
it's a big bias against proficiency because essentially what happens when your voyage runs, and you look at the stats on the left side, it may say 10,000 diplomacy. That's not exactly 10,000 though. It's going to be something like 8,000 base and then a few thousand proficiency. So when it rolls a skill check and it's over that 8,000 threshold, then it rolls a proficiency. You may miss, you may hit. So there's sort of a bias toward more base crew because that means you get more consistent voyage time. It's going to match up with the estimates more, which was a big complaint people had years ago. So even though you may have a higher average and go further with proficiency heavy crew, it's going to be a big heavy swing. No one likes RNG. So right now it's a little more biased toward base, but we may get some kind of toggle to allow you to choose if you want to chase those 12-hour runs. Maybe you want your KLS and Red Angel and high proficiency crew on there and try to high roll those skill checks.
So this one
looks like you have that option now. Or
yeah.
Oops.
So
like it gives you several different estimates all at the same time.
I mean, this is my existing.
It was like yeah. Go ahead.
So by the way, what does multi-vector assault mode mean?
So this is the new.
Well,
Sorry, yeah, this is the new mode. So original was the one it always runs, where you can select your search depth, which means how much you want it to work and how many you want to accept. The multi-vector assault mode is which for fans that haven't watched the episode with the Prometheus in, I love the name. I think it's fantastic. Estimated threshold is basically how much you want it to calculate as well. So if we put this in 0.25, because the people that saw that was very fast. If I run that on a mid-eng voyage, it's actually there we go. So it's come quite quick. It's actually estimated to be 9 hours 18. I'm pretty sure I can get a 10-hour. The last one was 10 hours, so maybe there's a few little bugs in here yet.
Well, I'm not seeing anything that allows you to change.
Well, what it does, and I loaded one up of myself.
make it go?
Unfortunately, I can't share the screen.
Yeah.
But it brought up recommended lineups, and it gave me 3 different estimated totals. One that was 11 hours, and the times are irrelevant. But
hang on.
There's a median runtime, which is kind of your average. I think that's what the standard lineup was before. Then there was a guaranteed runtime, which is a lower estimate, but I think it's higher chance of that actually happening. And then what it called is the moonshot runtime, which is your max length voyage. And it also gives you a range in those things, like your median runtime, expected range. For me, it was 10 hours, 10 minutes to 11 hours and 42 minutes. And then for the guaranteed, it was 10 hours 20 to 11:26. So it's a lower overall potential, but higher floor, I guess you would say. And then the moonshot, the expected range is 9 hours 50 minutes to 11 hours and 52 minutes. So that's like a 2-hour window. So I haven't looked at the specific numbers, but they must be very, very wide and probably some
girthy.
Yeah.
Big, large, huge even.
So I'm not seeing that on mine, but go and check out. There's definitely different sort of metrics you can sort of play around with. I know a lot of some people will say I'm still going to go manual, and some people rely on the DataCore calculator. I know I do a lot because I am lazy. But
chicks dig the long ball, man. Go for 12 hours.
Oh yeah, go get those 12 hours.
Grip it and rip it.
You wouldn't believe how many panties drop when they hear, do you know I've done a 12-hour
12 hours and 7 seconds, I'll have you know.
The answer is 0.
So, there has been another update.
Don't take away their hope, Big. Come on. Let the kids dream,
So there has been another update
and
from
then
the
DataCore
folks.
He's like, I have 3.
That's the second time you made that joke tonight. Come on.
Hey, that one was for podcast listeners.
Okay,
yeah. The first one.
I'm just waiting until I see Idle's lip move, and then I'm going to jump in and interrupt him again and again.
It's fine. I'm used to it.
Saying.
No one wants to hear me progress the show at a normal pace at a reasonable hour. No, that's fine. I forgot what was going on. Oh yes, DataCore had You guys can host your own damn show.
No, come back! I promise I won't fuck it up this time.
You good? No one? Anyone? You got anything to say?
Idle is an established parent. He knows if you let them let them tire themselves out, and then they'll give up. Okay, let's go.
So the DataCore put out an update saying they have lost fleet leaderboard access. Would you like to explain this, Stars and Garters? This is your homework. There you go. You'll pay for that interruption. Otto, to talk us through what this actually means, because it probably means very little for us players, but there has been a change in philosophy at WRG.
Right, so I am wholly unqualified to talk the technical aspects of this. Essentially, they changed some of their API endpoints so that resources currently who may have displayed fleet leaderboards, I know the Big Book was going to have that coming out. Currently, that's on ice. I don't know if DataCore does that. I think SSR the site used to do that. Anyway, they changed their endpoints so that right now we can't pull information on where the fleets rank for the event each week. I know a lot of people actually for years have been asking for an official fleet leaderboard so that we can have a little friendly competition or less than friendly competition between fleets. And so right now that's less possible than ever. And it's been speculated that if you guys watched Ben's last interview, one of the things coming in the 8.2 UI update is being able to see whether or not your fleet mates have done their dailies. There's a few other changes to fleet stuff. And so I think privacy issues are kind of the main concern here as to why they tighten that up. So I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere in the forums. Maybe it's a load issue, too many calls to the API. I really have no clue, and we're all kind of speculating at this point. So if we get any news on that from WRG, obviously we'll pass it along. A fleet leaderboard kind of is the most relevant part of this to your average player. They just want to compete with their buddies and see how well they're doing. So hopefully if we can't get that proper, maybe we can get some kind of access to responsible player resources that will still get that information out to your average Joe.
And there you go.
I had to say, like, all I heard was load issue, average Joe, compete with your friends. Did I miss it?
It's like the promo lines for Timelines back in 2016, isn't it?
Let's go to Automaton 420 and see what he has to think about it.
Like, yeah, man, they've done some shit, man. No, I'm sorry.
I haven't been this high in a while.
It's all over you.
Yes, Anson, it's all over me.
Right. Let's get to the meat. Let's get to the things people actually want to hear about, which is what is this week's crew good for, and who does he work for?
Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Sorry.
Rurigan.
We're off the rails.
We are
remarkably early this week.
You're welcome.
Rurigan,
to that.
The legendary crew for this week's event for Eng Psi Command, and a respectable voyage rank, as Stars put it in his submission for the show title this week. Holy shit, they're producing good voyages again. And I know a few people, myself included, have been quite weak on the Eng Psi front for a while. 2 collections, guys. What do we think about Rurigan?
Damn's good.
It's good. Real good.
Okay, flavor text. I have to couch this by letting people know this is the flavor text. This is not just a ramble jumble. Male Ydarin, who lived on Ydera Prime until it was conquered. Then he created a holographic recreation of his lost village.
Now, that's not quite the same as having a memory alpha like the link in the actual flavor text, but it's not far off.
I pulled up his memory alpha page. It's basically the first sentence and then like the third sentence of the paragraph on this page. So I think they have some kind of like summary bot that just like breaks down the first paragraph of the memory alpha page and then puts it into flavor text. I don't know.
Did it confuse it with the memory alpha Japan page when
for troubles of Hoshi feelings affection?
we went the same place.
No, see on that bot, it just took the third word in every sentence for the first 12 sentences of the page. That's
why we're positive. We're going to be positive this week. Positive. Come on.
We wanted to do
we
wanted to do some timelines Mad Libs, and that may still happen, but we couldn't quite get it to work. So if you're a big fan of Mad Libs, that may yet be coming. A few people in chat are talking about orange art. He is a little orange, but actually the scene this comes from is at the end of the episode, and he's literally standing in like deserty plain hills, and the sunset is in front of him, splashing on him. So it actually does fit really well. But if you look at the event art for next week, it is Rurigan, it's Brother Rom, and then on the right side is a Burnham from 3 years ago. And you can see a stark difference in art. The shading or whatever you can quibble about, but the art has really progressed. And
I mean, the one thing you say about the orange art, I mean, we've speculated about the two artists, but I think on this occasion, this is artist one because the clarity's there. We often said about, for the Hansons and for Zimmerman, that it sort of seemed a bit washed out. And for Barclay as well, First Contact Barclay, it sort of seems a bit washed out. This is crystal clear. This is very well defined. Okay, it has the same kind of shadings, but I don't think this clarifies as part of the orange art that we've complained about. This is... Yeah. It
is also a case of, a lot of the time with the orange art, it's a case of, you do have to separate the fact that, some people's skin tones, just like in the right lighting, or, with the certain circulation, they're going to look a little bit orangey or pinky, or, there was even a US president who was a little bit orange, but that's fine. And it's also, he is wearing, like, desert colors. Like, he is actually wearing, like, it's not orange, but it's like a cream, and that's, that's going to catch the light. And like it says, the scene that it comes from is going to affect that. So I feel like this one's fine.
It's nice art. I like it.
It's nice. And I believe the episode it comes from is called Shadow Play.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So that's like early DS9. And I believe...
Season 2, episode 15.
Yeah, when it was still sort of trying to work out what it wanted to be, and I believe the crux of the episode was he had recreated his village because they'd all died in a massacre or something like that, or...
Well, I'll give you the quick rundown, because I just watched it this week. Odo and Dax beam down to a planet. They find this strange reactor obelisk thing in the middle of town. People are disappearing. Turns out the obelisk is really a holographic generator. And so to fix it, they have to turn it offline. And when they do that, everyone in the village disappears except for Rurigan. That's when they find out he's a real boy. And he came here he's not native to the planet, but he came here and recreated, his family and stuff. And so they fix the generator and he gets to live in peace happily ever after. So it's a little cliche, even for Trek, but I think it's a fine episode and I really love the art. So.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes that I think of when it's like, if this were almost any other sci-fi thing that tried this, it would have come across as a bit more trite and a bit more sort of, look, it's a happy ending. But I feel like Trek does a better job of sort of earning these kinds of endings. It's like, no, there's a bit of optimism and a bit of hope in the world, and that's a nicely sort of kind of bittersweet thing. And I was like, okay, that episode, yeah, that's a decent episode. I mean, I'm not sure if he's quite worthy of Voyage rank 24. But I could think of worse characters.
Man who's stuck on his own planet, known for crusading among the stars. Not quite. But, yeah.
Since Chad is asking about the B-plot, that is Jake Sisko goes to work under the tutelage of O'Brien to learn some engineering courses, and his dad wants him to go in Starfleet. He doesn't want to go in Starfleet.
Yeah.
And so he tells his dad, look, I don't want Starfleet, and Sisko says, that's fine, just take your own course. And as a small tangent, Miles tells Jake while he's trying to get him to say, go your own path, you got to do what you want to do. He says, I played cello at a great level when I was growing up, and my parents wanted me to do that, but I didn't. And there are no musician O'Briens in the game.
There should be. He was playing the cello in one episode, definitely.
I think he's played it at least one or two, and they don't ever show him doing it on DS9, but he was definitely on screen doing it in TNG at least once.
So, I think that'd be cool to get a musician O'Brien some time down the line.
And then we could get some kind of, absolutely. Could we have Cellist Adira? You could have an entire band. That'd be fun. Why don't we have violinist fucking Data yet?
Yeah,
right.
That would be a slam dunk. What the hell?
Yeah, there's so many Mr. Radioactive, or the one where he's tap dancing, or the one where he's dancing with Crusher and he's got the.
Oh yeah,
I so want that.
Yeah, I mean, have a variant of Holmes Data where he's playing the violin as Holmes.
There you go.
That would be
I'd
cool.
Be happy with that. I'd be happy with that.
So anyway, what else is there about this crew? The double collections, which these days more and more crew are going to have double collections. Yeah. One of the traits that... So we had this big resourceful collection, 180 threshold. which the previous
That's a whole
one
lot.
big was like 120 for costumed. No other over 100. Big out of nowhere. So when I see romantic, I really think that could be a collection someday. Like the theme is so easy built in.
I also appreciate the addition of romantic here because it showed that someone actually did watch the episode. Because I believe we had this conversation about one or two of the Garricks who have that trait, and they were like, yeah, and it's like, why is he romantic? And I was like, well, because romantic isn't just a case of purely like lust or like attraction toward a person. It's also about having a romantic soul, as in the sort of the Byronic sense. And I feel like that's a very fitting trait to have given Rurigan, given the sort of that personal tragedy and the escapism of the episode. I feel like that's someone actually did watch the episode.
He's romanticizing what he's lost.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, he almost comes to tears talking about his granddaughter too, who is sort of featured in that episode. So it's more familial love than the classical Eros romantic love that everyone associates with it.
I then like flip over to our chat and then people are talking about fingering.
Fingering techniques for violin. So I think that's an appropriate time to talk about. He's voyage rank 24.
When are we the classy ones? Come on,
right?
Come on,
we've trained our listeners far too poorly. That's on us.
Yeah. So back to
far
back.
too well.
Eng crew Voyager last week was Zimmerman. Eng Psi this week. So if
makes
you
sense
need
with
that
Innovator.
combo,
Makes sense.
this Mega these weeks easy.
Well, at this voyage power, everybody needs that combo in that amount of power. There's nobody that couldn't use Rurigan.
Sounds like a good advert for a used car place. Everyone needs Rurigan.
Rurigan.
Fill up on Rurigan today. It'll increase performance by 24%. Okay, moving on. The other crew that you can participate for, the super rare crew, as I drop my badge on my desk, creating an awful cacophony of noise. Brother Rom, Dip Eng Command 3 collections.
Wait, who did that? Do it again.
Oh, brother. I did it.
There you go. This is Rom.
Hey, brother. I can't do it. I just sound like Kermit. You either sound like Rom or you sound like Kermit trying to do it.
Yeah.
You're not Max.
By the way, another good art, because if you zoom in and look at his face, like that is 100% Max.
Yeah.
Good
That's season 1 ROM. It really is.
But is it? So here's my thinking, because I actually don't know the episode, because he's counted as costumed. Is this the ROM that resumes his post as bartender in the Dominion War?
Don't question traits. Do not question traits.
Sorry.
Hey,
specifically. Yeah.
No, because this is the ROM that assumes the role of, Quark's servant when the Dominion take over. And you're like, hello, I'm your bartender brother, totally not a Federation spy. So he could be costumed. So that's what I'm thinking.
So the flavor text says Quark's younger brother, who has worked for several years in his bar. So that doesn't help narrow things down, really.
That's also a sentence fragment.
Right,
I got told off for doing that in my literature classes all the time.
Well,
But so, I always took this to mean that this is not from a specific episode. This is just generic doofus ROM from the beginning of DS9 before they figured out what his character was ever going to really be.
Yeah, especially because the quote is "Yes, brother," which is very much a season 1, season 2 ROM quote, not like toward the end of the show. So it's meant to be more of a generic type thing, which is fine. I don't mind a generic kind of like Enterprise D Picard, for example, is not from a specific episode.
How dare you? I know exactly what episode he's from.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
It's fine. No balls.
By the way, I love the decanter he's holding in his hand.
I had a bottle
grapes.
exactly like that. I picked it up when I went to Corfu, and it had a stand on it, but it had that grape text. It was terrible fucking wine, but we picked it up purely because it was shaped in grapes. I was just like, I have to have this, and I think we left it there because it was awful.
Usually, the better the container, the nastier the drink.
Yeah,
I can actually vouch for this because when I was in Crete, I picked up a bottle of raspberry schnapps for my boyfriend, and Crete obviously has like the great Greek mythology, and it was a satyr with a massive cock on it. And I bought it for the
completely prepared for that.
Well, guess what? Neither was anyone else for the anyway. I got it for my boyfriend, who was like, "Okay, that's a pretty good bottle," and he was like, "That was some of the worst schnapps I've ever heard, ever had." And so I think that does correlate. You buy it for the bottle.
I have to ask: was it flying the flag or was it half-mast?
Dude, it was a Greek Satan. It was absolutely flying the flag. You could have tied a windsock to that bitch.
Okay, so since we've blown past the censorship portion of the evening, my friend and I take to giving each other phallic gifts.
Yeah.
He has a bottle opener where you have to grasp that portion and then give it a good yank to open the bottle. But I actually bought him once, and maybe this spawned my love of player resources, the Big Book of Butts. And it sits on the wall in his bathroom as reading material. So if you go to his place and need to relieve yourself, you can flip through the Big Book of Butts.
Is this how the Big Book of Beholder Vice got started? You thought, I need a name for this. Big Book of Beholder Vice. You actually took it from a crass book.
Okay, I have to point out, how is that a phallic-related gift? If anything, that is phallic adjacent.
No, naughty gifts.
Out on that.
Hey, by the way, I see this Cisco 1 in
Millenniums, right?
I see this Cisco 1 in chat. Congrats on your event win recently.
Congratulations. Let's hope this one
Actually, the most, auspicious of events.
Shall we talk about how this guy is for newer accounts? Because he is a fairly respectable Voyager number 17, and he does hold the for Super Recruit, that is. And he does hold a fairly good dip eng score. Who else is in his category? He is number 1 in that pair.
He kind of reminds me a bit of Amal Kote, although he's inaccurately named Amal Chakotay in the game. Like a big base, like sort of like, really that one? Okay, fair enough. It's like, this is a fun variant though. Like, I like Rom. It's been a while since we had a decent variant, or any variant. I think what was the last one? Like Grand Nagus? Was that the last one? Like 4 years ago.
So I'm looking at just cool with dip eng for purples. You have Amalkote, Runaway Poe, and then Brother Rom, just in terms of pure voyage power. But we've kind of had a run recently of quite good voyage purples, and good purples overall. So if you've been starting a new account around this time, you're probably a little bit spoiled in how great these crew are. Because we've had runs where, like off the top of my head, Evie Sue McCoy, who is a pretty good purple overall, he was like Voyager number 160 or something when he came out, and so you can kind of feel a big difference between 160 and 20. But yeah, they've had a good run of purples and triple collections. I think for most of the people watching that are winning events and getting their top 50 shoutouts, they're just looking for the collection value, and Rom does bring that for sure.
And just no one talk up the costume collection, so they might remove it. So let's
someone's pointed out that it might be consistent with Convergence Day Quark, maybe, which Evans of Wales, rather. Sorry, I didn't mean to snub your name there. Maybe it's a case of because it's not exactly like it's work attire, I guess, because they are bartending. But then it's like the Ferengi, when they're not working, also wear the exact same kind of clothes. So I don't fucking know.
I'll take it.
He was wearing a costume of a Ferengi that was interested in business for the first 4 seasons of Deep Space Nine.
Okay, I'll take that.
The costume was the lobes he could not earn.
Okay, we'll say that like Sean, what's his face that plays Zach?
Oh god, I can't do that voice. I'll destroy my voice. Alternatively, maybe we'll wake up tomorrow and he'll be corrected to be an undercover operative.
Which also kind of makes sense.
If we ever get a re-release of Pell, I want it of her doing the Thomas Riker where she's like ripping off the Ferengi ears to reveal who she really is. That would be great art.
But it could be a fusion crew with Quark in the background just going, no!
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love that. If we ever get Thomas Riker, it has to be him, Terry.
Oh,
another Thomas Riker, that is.
It has to be. It's the most... Like, I remember my boyfriend telling me about that, seeing a gif of that moment, completely out of context, before he watched Star Trek, and he was like, what is the context of that scene? Why is that so dramatic? And then he watched it, and it was like, oh my god, that's dramatic and stupider than I thought it was going to be.
It makes even less sense.
Well, mean, in all seriousness, at what other point in the episode are you going to make a memorable piece of art about Thomas Riker that stands out from a Will Riker?
Yeah, that's true.
Unless he's in the
Because
yellow uniform.
Him like sitting in the chair with the Van Dyke doesn't seem like enough to be that differentiating. It's got to be.
It has to be his gold item, right?
It's either that or you could do a fusion crew with the two Rikers standing opposite each other, looking at each other.
Hold on, wait. Which skill do the item sideburns add? Probably command.
It's probably command. Absolutely. Maybe a bit of diplomacy as well.
Security.
Come on.
I think security, because espionage is tied into security, and that helped him get undercover, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's split the difference to say science.
Why not?
Science engineering Riker.
We now have every crew in the Innovator Mega revealed to us. So we're going to have a little retrospective and look at this Mega as a whole. Gentlemen, how do we feel about this Mega compared to last ones? Because we've often had our pros and cons for each one. Obviously, we talked about the Triple Mega being theming excellent, crew terrible, and now we sort of come to Innovator. And despite a rocky start with the Professor Data snafu, how are we feeling about this?
So... I feel like I should kind of like be honest about this. We've had a few negative shows in the last little while, and that's because there's been a lot to complain about, and also because me and I like to complain about a lot of things. We're stats nerds, we're picky, and we like to But I actually have to look back at this Mega and this is pretty decent. Actually, comparison to some we've had in the past, the theming is a bit odd. I don't know if I would have called this a Innovator Mega because it's kind of more a generic fantasy theme. Maybe costumed would have been a better
being
pick.
kind. The theming is pretty outright bad. It's not. I don't really see how Innovator. It's very tangentially related.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a couple polls in chat. Let's start since we're talking about it with the theme. How happy are you guys with the theme? One thing that we noticed. Only 4 of the 9 crew are innovators. So the recurring Mega, Luak is not, Kalhaya Cisco is not, and then 3 out of the 4 purples are not. Which, I mean, they don't need to all be that, but less than half of them feels like a few too few to me.
Especially if they're gonna expand the related collection as part of the Mega.
Well,
but on the flip side, go ahead.
Well, maybe that's part of it, because if they give you a whole bunch, maybe you feel like you don't need to dip into those discounted packs. Maybe they're trying to balance that out.
I mean, I could see that.
It's possible, but the thing with a Mega is that because you are going with 4 weeks of interrelated events, you kind of want that feeling of continuity. And with how spotty the Innovator trait has been applied, I feel like this has felt less like a Mega than some other ones where it's costumed, for example, and Tribble, because of really decent theming, it's there's a decent, I can use costume crew all throughout the thing, and it feels like it feels like I'm not relying on Innovators. This isn't an Innovator Mega, this is... I had a faction where I used some Innovators, actually. It could have been a one-off faction for Innovators more than anything else. The rest of it just feels disconnected.
To be fair, this last month with Tribble was probably the tightest theme-wise they've done out of any Mega ever. Even all the crew were named Tribble something. So
definitely.
They couldn't have gotten any tighter on the theme. So anything would be a step back this month.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the quality of the cards has gone up significantly. I mean, Strahl was kind of a card, but since...
Strahl is decent. Strahl is a good card if you don't have Honoured Owasakon. You would need him. He has got the right power in the right places. Yeah. But if you have an Honoured Owo, then nah.
Fairly redundant.
I'm never a fan of if you have one crew to staff your voyages, you don't need any more. They would both ride for a lot of people. Yeah. And he's equivalent in power. So he's not as good, but OO was 2019, so it's been a good 2 years. I mean, that's a long-ass time for a video game, for a player turnover and stuff, so it's nice to have refreshes every once in a while.
But for the rest of them, I mean, Luak, great. I mean, not a great skill set, but significant power. And
Luau Paris upgrade. He's the +1.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I don't hear too many. Sorry, Big. We keep doing this. I don't hear too many people complain about that. Luau Q is even a more direct upgrade to Paris than Strahl and OO are. Yeah. And and since everyone got Paris for free, I mean, that's sort of dinging a crew that everyone has versus a 2-year-old crew that maybe not everyone has.
Yeah. And then, of course, Zimmerman is a huge card. Rurigan is a pretty darn big card. So, I mean...
And Cisco's a bit more situational, but the skill set elevates him, and the fact that he will be... Cisco's a decent event performer, so you kind of go,
another
that's
med
fine.
Cisco, isn't it? He's got the medical trait, which helps for anything, which is weird. But
and you do have to kind of grade on a curve a little bit, because obviously he was a last-minute replacement. So he wasn't intended to be there, and we don't really know what Professor Data was intended to be necessarily.
So for our podcast listeners, it looks like 63% of our viewers think they could do a little better with the story. I'm going to go ahead and throw up another poll.
Well, you write one then.
I will.
There's another poll up there, guys, for the quality of crew in this mega. And let me run down the names just to refresh your memory. Luau Q, Strahl, Rurigan, Kalhaya Cisco, Hollow Engineer Zimmerman, and then for the purples, Fifth Dimension Invader, Aiden, First Contact Barkley, and Brother Rom. Which, by the way, if we can circle back around, I know we covered it recently, but Fifth Dimension Invader's art with the black and white highlights. I know Shia Porn was waxing about him in Discord the other day, so
good.
Really nice.
Now, Luau Q does have those giant hamburger helper glove hands, you know what I'm talking about?
Can I,
so there's a little bit of ebb and flow here. But
I have seen Luau Q is kind of I didn't realize this, but he's very much the Marmite of crew. Some people love him, some people hate him. I don't mind him. I think it's good art. But a lot of people are like, I can't stand. I know I've seen a couple of complaints, and quite lengthy complaints about like, I can't stand him. Some people are really offended by his knees, which confuses me because everyone has them just because they're on show. I don't understand.
Jennifer Garner's knees are a 2 out of 10. I would not date her.
Yeah,
are we getting back to like Victorian era or something where like knees are scandalous?
Something about his hands. And
just told me on multiple occasions that my knees are very, very. Actually, no, I should probably stop.
What, they're phallic? How we go back there again?
I'm cutting this off. This Cisco one in chat says the real mega theme is the uniting of the art, and now everyone is yell. I thought he was going to say the real mega theme is the friends we made along the way, but we didn't go that direction.
That's the one. But no, I am. I think that this is the on-off. This mega shows the difference between who's working on what. We've had sort of like, your Rurigans to your Hollow Zimmermans, your Idens to your Brother Roms. This sort of is definitely a 1-2 comparison to what you get for your artwork here. But I think in terms of power, we've definitely got the good crew this mega. I think for theming, I think we had a bit of a snafu with the rights at the start, and that impacted a little bit, but overall it's not bad.
I feel like this mega really had because I feel like with a lot of megas they start off really strong, and that's partly a combination of they tend to kind of front load the crew. Like I feel like there's a good few megas they kind of end on a bit of a limp note. Like the one that comes to mind instantly is freaking Colonel Q. Like that one always pops to mind. It's like, really, that's the final one? Okay, whatever. And you have the excitement of 3 out of 4 out of 5, and you get like the announcement, the event theme, and you kind of get excited for it, and that leads to a lateral slump. And here I feel like it only got better as time went on, because it was the whole snafu with the art, and like Strahl's art, which was not great. And Luau Q, which it's kind of the Death of Thousands cut sort of like criticism, where it's like it's not a massive instantly identifiable problem like it is with like with Aiden, where it's like that just looks blurry, or Hollow Engineers, and where like he just looks orange. It's like there are small things that add up.
And First Contact.
I feel like.
Can I inject something very quickly? And First Contact Barclay's art, which sort of like is completely accurate, which threw me at first. I was like, that looks nothing like him. But then you look back at the shots and you see, like, yeah, that's accurate, but just doesn't look right. Or with the theming of the game, it looks like a copy and paste screenshot that's run through a JPEG filter, and that's just been put into the game with the sort of the orange and the blue borders. It's just not quite that. Anyway, positivity, carry on.
Yeah.
For podcast listeners, how happy are you with the crew quality of this mega? 2/3 think they're great, a quarter think they're all right, and 8% think that they could be better.
Yeah. That's a diplomatic way of putting it, that it could be better. Just before we continue, I feel like if we hadn't seen the swap out of Professor Data with Kalhaya Cisco, and if Professor Data had potentially been an innovator, I feel like that would have actually made a fair difference to like how people perceive this mega. I feel like it would have been like, okay,
I can only imagine
Could
the
have been,
WRG are feeling the same as well, because obviously, like, we're
Yeah.
sort of seeing, like, we had rights issues, so they've kind of had the carpet pulled out under them from this, thinking, oh crap, this has sort of ruined what would be our plan for this. So yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
You know, if that had happened,
I mean, to the point that they stuck in a different data in the text of the events, where obviously,
Yes.
I mean, I assume obviously Professor Data was meant to be.
Okay, so you've brought that up, and now I have to talk about it. So there is, for those of you who may have just like tapped through your event text, this is like a textbook reason why you should not. So there was a wrap-up conversation at the end of this mega, where they're talking this event rather, where they're talking about the hologram that went nuts and was like the reason why we're shooting all those ships. And Professor Detective Data is advocating for this hologram's like criminal justice rights. And he says, he be no trouble.
I saw that too.
The inimitable Brent Spiner, he be no trouble. And it's really blatantly obvious that line was written for Professor Data, who could use contractions, and he said, he'll be no trouble.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, do you think that's what that was?
Of course!
I thought it was just a straight typo. I thought it was a straight
typo. How often do they typo, though? They don't actually do it all that often. It's like maybe once a year. But here it's like, he be no trouble. And it's like...
If you're going to do that, then you would have you would change it to he will be no trouble.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem.
He will be, and in the backspace, and he didn't fix it. I bet you that's what it is.
We know they have a staff writer, okay, and the staff writer, for as all we can tell, is a pretty good Star Trek fan, because the storyline.
Yeah.
What people have said about the storylines, they're pretty good. This kind of says to me this has to be more of the typo realm, because I can't imagine they'd look at this and go, "Oh, hang on, Data doesn't do contractions. We'll just make him sound like an idiot."
okay. It was one little typo. It was funny, but let's not.
No.
Right, I'm not ragging them. I think this was purely a case of they were scrambling when the, as you say, the carpet got pulled out from underneath their feet, and they had to do a real quick fix, and this didn't get caught. And you know what? In the totem pole of errors, this is like way down there on the. This is in the Breen disguised Ducat flavor text issue. Like it's hilarious to point out and laugh at.
That's a whole different conversation. So let's not go there. All right, my thoughts on Professor Data are. Before they added the event hub, we had 4 years of Star Trek timelines. When they made the switch to Cal High Cisco, they did it at the last second. His event went up on that Wednesday when they normally come up. Well, a week later. So before Event Hub, no one would have known this. Because they wouldn't have advertised it. They wouldn't have put up the crew you're going to get. It would have just been, all right, the event's tomorrow. Here's your information. So you have to wonder how many times something similar happened in the past, and we just weren't privy to it. So as a company, they're putting themselves out there saying, we're trying to give you this an extra week ahead of time. So, if Century Nurse Crusher's art doesn't pop up, or we have to switch up Professor Data, that's the price we're going to pay for every single week, giving you an extra 8 days lead time. So I'm okay with that.
And
that's actually a fair point, yeah.
And I really appreciated in the mail that went out to everybody about the 8.2 upgrade that Ben actually put something in the note saying, we had planned for the objective events to come out at this time, and that we want to put these things out. Paraphrasing, I don't know the exact text of it, but saying that we're putting these things out ahead of time, and we don't always hit it exactly when we want to. But that tells me that they're not discouraged by that, and that they're going to keep giving us information in advance, which I think we all appreciate as players.
So what you're saying is the community appreciates some degree of transparency and communication with the player base. This is a radical concept. I've never heard of this. Please expand upon this.
Positive. We're slight. Let's get.
This is good positive feedback. I appreciated seeing Ben's name next to an actual quote saying, "Hey, this is a thing we had planned. It hasn't gone quite according to the thing, but it's still on the docket." I really appreciated seeing that. That felt like a human being was talking to me and talking to me about a video game, not just an anonymous bot spitting things at me. It's like,
absolutely.
I know that Shan has to write that stuff and approve it, but it's nice seeing someone's even when Shan's name pops up and says, at least a human wrote that. I appreciate being talked to like a human.
Yeah, no, that is 100% of it. Take a quick segue because I just realised. Sorry,
hold on.
Go on.
I want to speak just one more thing. I want to crowdsource an answer, so maybe chat, you can help me out. This is something I'm thinking about more and more now with these monthly collections. So I'm staring at these crew in front of me. I won't read them off again. You guys know half of them are on your roster now. I can't think of any of them who have a missing trait. Like how many weeks have we gone and said, "Oh, come on, they didn't watch the episode. They're missing inspiring or whatever." I'm looking through these. I think they're all pretty damn solid on traits, which is important for crew retrieval. It's important for these monthly collections. Do you guys in chat? My lovely co-host, can you think of any of these crew who
actually now you've
missing a blatantly obvious trait?
Now you've mentioned it, I can't. I think, if anything, like, I'm not going to talk about Apollo, Plutonian Chekhov, but things like that, where they put too many traits in. But no, yeah, you're right. This seems to be they're getting a bit more bang on with it. That's encouraging.
I think that kind of ties into the theme of the Mega too. So even though some of the crew aren't necessarily innovators, they're still true to the characters on screen, which is what you want.
Okay, let's take
I'm sure if I made them, I'll come up with a billion traits. But for crew.
Nearly a good segue. Except I'd like to divert slightly.
There's a fair point. Walt Koenig is saying, should Rom be a jury rigger? At that point in the series, should he be a jury rigger?
He kind of should, because even in the first series, he was very much fixing shit for Quark. He was, I believe,
I don't think he was actually all that much. That kind of became more of a thing in season 3 and 4. Because as I recall, in those first 2 seasons, his role is more, I am Nog's dad. Like the focus is more on Nog in those early seasons because he was Jake's friend. And there were occasional moments of him being really cold-blooded and trying to kill Quark.
Oh,
and then they kind of and they retroactively established that yes, he's the one who keeps all the holodeck programs going with like fixing spatulas into the holodeck, power supply.
Guys, we drew the pentagram on the floor. We summoned Ben. Welcome back to the stream, WRG Ben. I don't know how long you've been watching, but we've been heaping praise upon the Mega and the good crew and the tight traits. So well done on that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and you know what, Ben? Pass this on to whichever artist did the fifth invasion, fifth dimension invader. God, I can speak. I promise. Tell them I would love to give them like a muffin and a pat on the back because that art is incredible.
Whoa, your generosity knows no bounds.
Hey,
we're gonna chuck this stale muffin across the
room. Treat yourself. Make it double chocolate.
A triple chocolate muffin. One of those nice ones.
Right.
With like gooey bits in the center so it kind of explodes in your mouth like one of those muffins.
Right. Skycap and chat, Invader could be a saboteur or undercover operative.
Saboteur?
I don't think so. I mean, they're not necessarily... So they are in a disguise because they're photonic life forms, but undercover operative sort of implies...
It implies duplicity, yeah.
Right, duplicity, stealth, which I think, if anything, they were like...
Very forthright and open.
Open and innocent, so maybe, but I don't know.
Saboteur, unintentionally, maybe, but I wouldn't say that clarifies. I wouldn't say that counts.
Ben, since you're on, what happened to Mira Shan? We need to know. Thank you, Jodmos, for that. Let's take a quick sidebar, which I didn't put in the notes eventually, but we actually meant to talk about it and we forgot to put it in there. But objective events. This has been clarified a little bit in the note that Ben sent us in the in-game mail that they will be taking place of achievement events, which were previously sort of the way you could get extra sort of crew. But from going forward, there will be objective events, which will be midweek affairs, if I believe. So, Auto, you have the text. Yes, please do.
Yeah, just let me read this quote off. Objective events are a new activity that you'll be able to participate in outside of our regular weekly events. They will have a simple format and will also be how we do temporary achievements in the future. Now, we were just talking about this pre-show. When they did that mini event, last year? That was basically just a skirmish. Now, you could warp like away missions to get intel and stuff, but it was essentially a skirmish. So them saying this replaces temporary achievements makes me think it's going to be kind of fetch quest thing, run shuttles. Maybe they have one or more of these events active, so you have to run 50 shuttles in a faction event or do, 100 ship battles. But if you have skirmish active, that's going to be more incentive. So who really knows? But
you know what I think would be cool? So they're called objective events, right? And if we're thinking about like how they would dovetail with achievement events, where the objective is to do X, Y, Z amount of away team missions or whatever, wouldn't it be fun if you actually had to use like your brain a little bit? I know, scary thought. And you had to go back to old missions, and you had to replay them manually to get a specific item that had been added in for the event, as if you were like...
This is sounding... No, I don't know about this. This is sounding very close to the E word here.
The E word.
Yeah.
But you have to do it once, like to get specific items. And it would be different missions every time, like a scavenger hunt more than anything else.
So here's something I would love.
More like a trek through the stars.
A trek through the event.
Get out of here, Q.
Do you know what I love? And I postulated this years ago on various Discords and forums, but like, what if we had the daily cadet missions, but instead of like, they were like, like you play roguelikes, okay, and they had the daily run, which is randomized every day. What if we had like an away team mission that was completely randomized, or that was different every day, different traits to complete different nodes? You might not be able to complete them with your crew roster. Some days you can, some days you can't. And I would absolutely adore that, because I kind of look at them and go, I need to get this person out for this, and that would kind of make the idea, and sort of like, so you look at like, right, here's this shape of the node, and like go right over here, I need an innovator for that one, I need a cultural figure with a diplomacy there, but it would be different every day, and that would help.
Are we agreed that is the most objectively interesting part of the game as far as actual gameplay?
Yeah.
Well, it requires the most thought and the most strategic planning, really, apart from trying to go for like a top one in like a event. Apart from that, it's like, what else? This is a very brain dead game otherwise.
You do it once,
no offense,
and then you get the warp button activate, and you never look at them again. And even with cadets, the same thing. Like when you're an early player, that's your kind of, I've discovered this going through various alts and sort of like thinking, right, I need this character for this, and I need, like, Auto, you gave me on a hint for my Nightmare mode about the Penthe Riker being able to do Ishka's issues for my... I was like, brilliant, that's the person I need. I kind of missed that level of strategy. Not in an objective, not in like an expeditions kind of way, but...
Glasses, man.
Oh, am I missing? Okay, fuck's sake.
Airflip. By the way, there's a poll in chat. Are you guys excited for the objective events? Now, we don't know a lot about them. Ben did demo a little bit, and they put out this little press release. Some people have said 4 days a week is a lot for events. They need the time off in between. I can understand that.
That's why I think like the idea of like a scavenger hunt, where it's like the idea is not so much the amount of time, but the actual thought put into it. I feel like that'd be an interesting flip of how normal events work, where it is literally just about grunt work, essentially.
A good call, Apollo. It's going to be stratagema. You're going to have to plug your fingers into your phone and go like this for 3 days.
I mean, it already kind of is.
It's whoever can get to the highest level in the Qatarian headset game.
That's a different rated game.
Has anyone run an event and done the Qatarian headset game at the same time?
God, that sounds awful. What? No, stop that. Don't put that out in the universe.
Don't do that.
So yes, this is objective events.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing, right? If you keep on saying, "Oh, it's close to the E word," are we not agreed that expeditions are boring because of the repetition?
Correct.
Yes.
So if you only had to do them once to get a specific item, but you had to have a very specific crew to do it, or you had to be actually like paying attention to what you're doing and fatigue levels and your trait matches, if you only had to do it once, but it was very hard to do, would that not be more interesting than an expedition, which is by its very nature very easy to do provided you have the right crew, but just boring because it's repetitive?
Listen,
I think variety cross event types is most important. If you have a boring one, that's okay as long as they're not all boring. Because at the end of the day, it's a mobile game. If I want to veg out, watch TV, and tap absentmindedly with one hand to do a billion skirmish runs, that's nice to have that option. Now, some people like Expedition because there's more planning involved. You have to actually watch the screen, make sure you select the right crew for the right node. So as long as it's not like a total rehash of what we already have, That should satisfy most people.
There are entire TV networks designed to be background noise while you're doing something else. They really are. Things like the CW, all the superhero shows there, and
this stream, for example.
Yeah, they are exactly. Just.
Yeah, no, most of our viewers have already fallen asleep, so well done us.
Okay. WRG Ben just literally hopped in and says, hoping to talk more about objective events in a forum post next week. So really look forward to that.
We'll cover it then on the show.
Really look forward to that. Okay, moving on. Let's have our fun segment back. Let's talk about Timeline's Talks originals. Totally not fake crew. And Hello, yeah, someone please trigger that for me. Totally not fake crew. And if I load up, I was very surprised because you guys reminded me we were doing this, and I was like, oh, shit, I need to make the art up. And I'd already made it 2 weeks previous. I completely forgotten I'd done this. But yes, Stars, you are the champion of this segment. Please, let's start us off with why the Fairhaven theme. So,
you say me. This one was actually this is a bit of an experiment for me and Auto, where we sort of, we have this fun... hang on. I see that look on your face, Big. Not the normal kind of experiment me and Auto do. We sort of we meet up every now and then, not related, not even when there's a skirmish on. We just go, you want to watch something together, bro? Or just do a hangout.
Dylan, you son of a bitch. And then we do the thunderclap.
Yeah, basically. And we decided, how about we start watching episodes that, the other one doesn't, think very highly of, and just watch it through together and see if that improves the experience and if we can sort of get something out of it that we may not have gotten on our first watch through. And I brought up that Fairhaven, I guess, actually, you know what, I've come around onto it, is undeserving of quite as much of the hate as it usually gets, where it's considered among the worst Star Trek episodes. Really? No, it's not. It's really not. Compared to some of the dreck I've had to watch through, like half of Enterprise and Code of Honor and Threshold, there is so much worse than Fairhaven. Fairhaven is another holodeck episode with some charming character moments, actually. It's not that bad. I feel like if people get it confused with Spirit Folk, which is kind of the sequel episode, which I don't know if that's any good. Yeah. But this first one, it's actually a decent amount of character work goes on in it, and it's just a fun diversion.
Thank you, Logan. Bad luck for following.
Oh, there we go. So me and Auto decided, let's do this together and create some crew and bounce back and forth, and he reined me in from my usual tendency to give every trait under the sun.
Yeah, I think we had to cut it off at that point.
Yeah. So we have first up arm wrestling Kim and Liam. Liam being one of the Irish lads in the pub who, for some reason, Harry Kim, wastrel that he is, decides he's going to have an arm wrestle with.
By the way, this is actually going to be a fusion of Fairhaven, Harry, who we already have in game, and then Liam will pop up later. So,
do you know what I've realised? Yeah. We've got the wrong people on to talk about this. We really need Dam and Space Jumpy's Cold. We need Cold as well. We need the two Irish representatives for our viewers here.
I have an Irish name. Does that count?
Well, I'll live with it. It's fine.
Yeah, there we go. Guess what? It's about as Irish as this episode.
His name is Stars O'Flaherty.
Oh no, I'll turn into a cow next.
Darby Fake Crew.
It's the timeline.
Stars O'Garters. That's good.
I'm going to change my Discord name. God damn, how dare you? I had a consistent brand for so long.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you very quickly? Because we have to redeem a hair flip from our very own WRG Ben, who would say, would you like to see Voyage events or Gauntlet events? And consider I've gone on to record to say, fuck Gauntlet.
I would say Voyage events, actually. I'd be really curious to see what a Voyage event would look like. Is it like...
Hold on, we're going to pull this, so don't all yell at Ben at the same time here.
Yeah. Just everyone screams yes.
Yeah, literally. Yes, both.
Both is good. Both is good.
Why not both?
Seamus O'Hare flip. That's another good one. Apollo, thanks.
I'll have to tell you about my Irish grandfather who isn't Irish at all story at some point, but please carry on. Stars, go for it.
That'll come to our Spirit Folk segment. So yeah, as also mentioned, this is a fusion of Fairhaven Kim, who we already have, and Liam, who will pop up later. It's a super rare fusion crew, which I don't think we really have in terms of... We envision Harry as being your 4-star, and then Liam is your 3-star. So you're fusing kind of sideways into crew. So we decided, okay, you gotta be good, but not too good. So you've got a few decent, unique traits, but the real thing you'd be looking for is that instant damage. You want the instant damage. And this is, I had, the bit more flavor. I really like this scene because you get to see Harry doing something that isn't being denied by a woman. So, it's fun in that respect.
Jesus.
That comes later. It's just a good bit of fun because, Doc, EMH is the EMG rather, the emotionally medical guy. Is the kind of the highlight of this episode for me. He's just a ton of fun. He just gets really into his role as a community leader and a priest. So, arm wrestling Kim and Liam coming to a screen near you, probably never. But that's fine.
Okay.
I've learned to live with it.
Moving on.
Let's address this since Ben is here and we're pulling everyone. If you don't mind, Stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll give my opinion. You guys give yours. Voyage is very popular among our crowd, at least. I always hear people say they've quit Gauntlet. They don't want to play Gauntlet or whatever. Part of it's rewards, part of it's RNG. So it might just come down to how they pull it off, the execution. Maybe they can make it fun, but I think Voyages are just the safer bet at this point. And if you did just hire an engineer to dig into the deep code of Voyages, maybe he can help you out eventizing that game system as well. So
interesting. I'm interested.
WG Ben says I only have 2 arm stars. Did I imply otherwise? Maybe that sounds like a you problem, sir.
Okay. Let's carry on with the fake crew. Moving on. Fairhaven Janeway. This is going to be...
Lines Originals.
Big, before we cut you off again, would you like to say your 2 cents real quick?
I'm sorry.
As the guest of this show?
Hey, he's a regular host. What are you talking about?
Nominal guest at best. I think that Voyage has the most potential to be something that is... least obtrusive to the time off that I think that most of us appreciate in between events. Gauntlet seems like something that you would have to do, regularly enough that it might be obtrusive to where you're just playing 7 days a week and burnout. And burnout already seems to be a problem just with a 4 out of 7 day a week schedule of playing. So a Voyage thing and something that would utilize more crew simultaneously, which is something that I think everybody has always been has been talking about. Do have more things to do with your crew, and they had already expressed in a previous Ben appearance that having multiple levels of Voyage simultaneously was something that they had some interest in. So I think that kind of dovetails into that also. So something where you're not necessarily trying to send a max level Voyage, or the kind of strategy of sending a max level Voyage as your event Voyage and then having a secondary Voyage as your normal Voyage. And there's some interesting strategic ideas that could go into that. So I think a Voyage event has a lot of potential to be pretty interesting.
Yo, dog, I heard you like Voyages, so we put Voyages in your Voyage so you can voyage while you voyage an event.
Definitely need a section in the show. We need a section in our show notes which is just be prepared for Ben interruptions.
Interruptions, yeah.
At all times.
At least not a Suspiria with a transparent background this time. Or layer.
That's true.
I think that was a year ago now. Have you not got over that? Have I not got over that? Maybe. No.
And he never forgave.
I've seen you cry into your pillow about it.
I think I've got over that now.
All right.
Shall we continue with the fake crew? Yes, let's. Okay, Fairhaven Janeway.
Originals, branding, Timelines Talks.
Timelines Talks Originals, Fairhaven Janeway. You can't get this kind of quality of crew anywhere else. Please tell us why we should delete the wife.
Luxley, are you watching this? Here's a Janeway.
Damn right, should we?
You kind of can't get away from, like, she is basically the focal point of the episode. And Kate Mulgrew, as she always is having so much fun with like playing up in this silly like Irish like fantasy town that never existed because people don't really talk like that. Maybe they do in Cork, but an idealized version of Cork that you know.
Again, damn cold. Please weigh in on this.
Please weigh in the historical accuracy of Fairhaven.
By the way, for I want to say Discord podcast listeners, which system would you like to see eventized? As asked by Ben, 79% want voyages, 8% want gauntlet, 13% say bring back expeditions. You cowards.
Yeah, it said cow herds, which I appreciate.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't allow me to put the word cowards, so I had to,
really
evade the censors.
Christ.
Sorry, censors, Tuvok. Yeah, so when we were talking about these crew, like you said, Janeway is sort of the eye of the storm here, and we were positioning, okay, let's make this a full mega. So we wanted to make half the crew purple, half gold, and Janeway's got to be the recurring crew for this. I know she's had at least one before with Determined Janeway. Has she had two?
No, just the one, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, but so it just makes sense for her, and we got to squeeze in a little bit of engineering because she does tinker around with what's his name? Michael Sullivan's parameters and so
phrasing.
That's where the engineering comes from.
If they're not Chakotay, you don't care about Janeway's paramours, do you?
Dude, so I was searching just out of the blue, searching for Chakotay GIFs or GIFs on Discord, and like 80% of them involve Janeway in some manner. So apparently there's a large contingent of fan fiction. Anyway, that's off topic.
None of it written by you, of course. So we sort of positioned her as like, if we're going to make her the recurring crew, let's make her useful but not too like overpowered. So you get instant damage, but it's slower, and it has to be the quote. It can't not be delete the wife, and that is instant damage. You can't tell me it's not. You do a pretty decent Kate Mulgrew. You get that kind of smokery voice going. I appreciate it.
I think it's Garrett. I was listening to the Delta Flyers, and Garrett Wang can do quite a good. Kate Mulgrew, it's basically just like delete the, it's very sort of like nasally almost, but
nasally but projecting power. So
do the first
when
part,
we were trading her up, human Federation Starfleet, of course, costumed, it's appropriate, casual, romantic, and then we had a bit of an argument about the last two, and we said, you know what, let's leave these in and let's have the viewers decide. Scoundrel and crafty. Now, I think she qualifies as a bit of a scoundrel in this episode.
I mean, she's not taking it seriously, is she?
Well, no, but she is tinkering about with, you can have the holographic rights arguments all you like, but she is mortifying her paramour in ways that, let me put this the other way. Like, if this were a guy doing this to a female hologram, you'd think about it a bit differently.
Well, I was going to say, is this the equivalent to Barclay doing what he wants in the holodeck? Is this a sort of contemporary female aspect, but being a bit more politically appropriate?
Okay, but here's the difference. Barclay, he built that program from the ground up. Janeway's coming into an existing program and modifying it for her own ends.
That's a point.
Yeah, but Barclay's way scummy is not a trait. More scoundrelly because he's using the images of his crew members without their permission.
This isn't someone that Janeway knows. This is someone random. She's like, I like him. I'm just gonna kind of. Whereas Barclay's like, I want to see Riker humiliated.
I just think you should go whole hog and call the card Fairhaven Homewrecker Janeway.
Just Homewrecker Janeway,
yeah.
Is that the one that gets paired with Homesteader Chakotay, Homewrecker Janeway?
Yes, exactly.
I could see scoundrel. I don't know if about crafty. I think crafty implies
I could go the other way.
Oh, really?
I would go the other way. It's crafty to manipulate the program. and in a way that's not scoundrelish.
I don't think either fit personally, but if we're advocating for a musician for the Hansons, I can't argue too hard to really stick
has
to.
to happen. That has to happen. I know what their flavor text changed to
Bob.
Okay, perfect time to move on to the next crew. Fairhaven Paris, flat cap and all.
Flat cap Paris, yeah.
Sorry,
You kinda
Timelines
got it.
Talks
Paris.
Originals, Fairhaven Paris. There we go.
Newsies Paris.
Yes.
That's good.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Paris has had a pretty good run of really good gold variants. Like, he's got, Credem Guest, who's a good collection piece and was in his time a Voyager. Delta Flyer Paris, who is arthritic at this point, but was, for a time, irreplaceable in his role.
Determined is a banger.
Paris
Luau's
is
good.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And this is sort of he's a bit more, Eng Command is a decent Voyage stack that you can position yourself around it. Obviously, Braxton is the centerpiece, but you need more than one Command Eng crew to run a Voyage. And no, you can't have
Braxton.
nothing but... Yeah, sure. That won't result in an unbalanced Voyage score. But, a bit of engineering because he is creating this wholesale, and like I said, these are not based on the rest of his crew, unlike Photons Be Free or anything like that. This is essentially a wholesale invention. So I feel like engineering is a decent and command of his environment because he is essentially the writer.
It's one of the few places where he has control over the situation. So
he's master of his domain.
Yeah, and that's why it was sort of why I wasn't why I was advocating for Crafty on Janeway, because she does modify Sullivan behind Paris's back. He says, "I didn't program him to drink," and he is surprised at the edits that she is making. So I don't know. He's sort of the instigator. He doesn't have sort of the main role, but I feel like a good gold variant I think is warranted, especially because I just like his flat cap. I feel like that's a very only Paris would kind of go that native with it. I feel like, I mean, the dog goes very native, but in a different way. Only Paris would walk into an Irish town and be like, "I need to wear a flat cap to fit in."
So yeah, Paula says scoundrelly turned Maggie into a cow, but that was Spirit Folk, not Fairhaven.
Yeah.
So I think this predating it we'll stick without scoundrel, but.
Yeah, if we did Spirit Folk Paris with the driving goggles and stuff like that, I'd absolutely give him scoundrel for that. Yeah, that'd be fair. But...
Remind me why we had communicator.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Why has he got the communicator trait?
I know we had a reason because we just watched the episode fresh, but now it's been a few weeks. So
I mean, doesn't he have to explain to everyone else that's coming into the program what it's all about and that kind of thing? I mean,
it's partly that, but he's also the one who manages to suss it out from Sullivan exactly what the situation is with Janeway.
That's
and
true.
Tries to get her to
down
open
off the
up
ledge and
yeah,
he climbed up in a tree and was shouting her name and
precisely. And Paris is the one who's sort of acting Paris doesn't really get a lot of credit for the fact that he is a very diplomatic guy. He's very good at making social connections and acting as an intermediary and forging relationships with people, romantic or not. I kind of tapered off as his character developed, but he's very good at talking with people, especially here because he understands these characters better than everyone. He has to act as a liaison between the Fairhaven community and the Voyager crew, who are essentially a different community. So communicator, I feel like is guaranteed, and gambler because he bets on the arm wrestling contest, as you would.
All right, moving on. Next one, Father Mulligan.
There's a throwback. You remember the third episode or whatever, and I was pulling up slides to do my speech on Six Eye Crew, and I went click click, and that was your little. Sorry, that's a throwback just for us.
Wow. And Jodmos, I think he's been re-listening to old episodes. The crazy person he is. Yes, Doctor variant, Med, Dip, Command. Could you disappoint me any further, Stars?
I'm being accurate to the episode. Because he does not do a lot of commanding in this episode. He simply doesn't.
By the way, this is Fairhaven in general is a undercover doc episode. If you watch it and you're not thinking at the end of it, it was about Janeway and Doc, then you kind of miss the point. So this is another one of his move beyond the confines of his programming type things, but a little more subtle than usual.
Yeah, so this, especially the screen cap I've taken this from, is from, I think, probably the best scene in the entire episode. Because the best scene isn't any of the romantic stuff, it isn't any of the goofing around in an Irish town. It is literally just Janeway and the Doctor walking down Voyager hallways. Yeah, so they're doing their walk and talk. And they're just talking about emotions and feelings and about relationships. And it's a very Star Trek moment where a human is being taught something about human nature from a hologram, which is that's something only Star Trek really does it well, I feel like. And if you want a really, like you say, this is kind of a Doc episode because this scene is a really underrated sort of Doc and Janeway moment where he makes an actual proper connection with her. And unlike other moments where he doesn't make it about whether or not he's a hologram, he makes it more about a case of if this is a human connection that you're having, how real is it to you and how much does it matter? And he doesn't, because he can get a very over the top when it comes to hologram rights. Like he's the dupe when the Hirogen holograms go nuts and stuff like that, and he's kind of the bad guy for photons be free. But here he just kind of recognizes that he has to step into more of a counselor role for Janeway and sort of actually talk to her about the emotional connection that she's having. And it's just a really good subtly played scene. I just really appreciated it on watching it.
So one thing that I noticed when we were watching, and it came from the Delta Flyer podcast, because Robbie McNeil has been doing his share of directing since Voyager, the fellow who plays Paris. And so he, early on one of the episodes, was talking about the walk and talks, which is, two characters walking down the corridor together, and they always happen to end their conversation right when they get to the turbo lift and all that stuff. But I noticed in this one, this was like maybe the longest walk and talk they do in all of Trek, because they walk down the hallway and then they have to cut, and they probably shuffle the set pieces, walk down the same hallway, and they do it like 3 or 4 times before before they get to the turbo lift. So it's really just from my very limited directorial understanding. It's an interesting way that they built that scene to give them time to do it. And I think at one point a crew member walks past and Janeway doesn't want to be overheard, so she pulls Doc aside and says, "All right, you want the truth? I think I'm in love with a hologram." And she has to kind of whisper it because there are crewmen around. So it's just the way she's...
What season was this?
What scene? It's
season,
after
season.
Season 6, I think it is.
Oh gosh, it's later than I thought. I thought because any kind of hologram stuff, I always assumed with like Paris's early holo program. I actually forgot about. I'm not the biggest boy.
Up until the very end.
I was just thinking about Doctor's mobile emitter, whether he had it then. So it's post season 3.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. That is actually a really fun scene just because of how technically, because you always kind of appreciate, especially with 90s era Trek, when Trek does something a little bit different with the direction, and they do add a bit of dynamism, and they kind of emblemize the tug and push and pull of the conversation they're having by having them walk back and forth and tug each other to and fro and sort of take each other to their confidence and be a bit louder. And it's like there's a nice little bit of interplay here. Like even if you don't want to watch Fairhaven, see if you can find this scene on YouTube, because it's just a really good scene if you appreciate Star Trek.
Moving on.
We'll recommend.
Francis Sullivan.
So, if this was a Mega, you have to get your crap out of there. You got to have a few crap ones.
There were a few of these. I think we ended up with like 4 2-skillers or something, and we're like, this is going to be a real bad Mega, but it's hard to justify anything else. Can I just say, the
last Innovator Mega, I don't think we've had a 2-skiller. The entire Mega.
For a while, yeah.
Especially Gold.
The first 2 they got a Mega, yeah.
They really pulled back on Gold 2-skillers.
Thank God.
They probably don't sell well, so.
I wonder why.
As well, they shouldn't.
So we decided to take some of the sting out of it by at least giving her a decent arena ability. You get like a bit of an attack boost at 6 seconds. So you would use her a bit if you were just starting out in the game. Hologram, if we ever maybe get a hologram collection, probably just +1 on immortalization count for a lot of people. But as an inciting incident for Delete the Wife, you kind of got to get the wife in there for the Mega.
Yeah.
3 traits.
And that's
hologram,
three
human, civilian. This is like, I'm surprised.
We scoured. We couldn't find more, to be honest, because she has 3 lines in there. She shows up, talks to him a little bit, and then leaves. So,
I mean, they give Samhain quite a lot of traits. Like, well, actually, how many traits does Samhain have? He was in it for like 5 seconds.
Like ambassador and stuff like that. That's more than Frances Sullivan gets. Like, she is literally in it for 3 lines. That's
what are you thinking, Big?
Like, Samhain has desperate, resourceful, ambassador, and civilian. Like, he was in it for 30 seconds. She can have more than hologram, human, civilian.
Well, what do you want to give her?
Well, I'm just trying to think. Maybe caregiver, maybe romantic.
But we
maybe
don't know if they have kids. We don't know if she actually does any caregiving. I mean. Not to offend any of our
in the scene.
I don't know. Be the caregiver. I don't know.
Yeah, like in the scene, actually, like Sullivan and Janeway are getting quite interested in each other, and then she appears, and Sullivan almost sort of changes gear a little bit, and sort of is a bit more deferential to her, and that's why we decided against romantic, because it's like.
Thank you, Walt.
Damn, that was what I was going for. I couldn't pull it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like there's just not enough there, and like I feel like that's sort of that's why it's so easy for her to be deleted, because she does not have an integral role in the program, and it's very clear that like Paris doesn't notice when she goes missing, but he does notice when Michael Sullivan starts acting weird.
Yeah, we do have a couple bartenders coming up, but she doesn't actually do any of that in the episode, and they don't mention it, so I'm sure you could add it, but then you have to give her the obligatory medical skill that all bartenders have, so...
Sure. It's good for the soul. Okay, moving on. Heartbroken Sullivan. Oh.
So we both agreed Michael Sullivan in game is like a pile of garbage, but he's a good actor. He's a fun character. He's if Janeway's the headline of the show, Sullivan is the heart of the episode, and so we really want to make sure he could get some kind of good gold variant because he ain't getting another one. So
yeah.
So this is it.
Nice. Yeah, so you get a bit of utility. He is set command dip because you really can't justify anything else. Like, I know he's a bartender, but we've already...
You could do a little med, because that whole part is about the therapy of him working out his emotions or whatever, but that would be a stretch, and we do try to be accurate.
Yeah, no, it's like we try to be as faithful as we can to the source material. Not to imply that WLG doesn't. Like I said, they've been very good these last few months, but it's a case of being purely about this scene. There is not a lot of medical stuff going on here. In fact, he starts a fight, which is the exact opposite.
Do you know what the best thing? Sorry, just to interject. Do you know what the best thing I'm loving about wearing glasses is? I can now kind of do the skeptical looking over the glasses. What do you say, like?
Homework, Mr. Automaton.
I could also take my glasses off, and I could use them to point. I'm like, no, you see here. Sorry, carry on.
The descent to librarian intensifies apace.
Oh,
I'm sorry. What?
Oh boy. So yeah, you get a bit of utility here to make up for the crummy skill set. So you get an accuracy boost, you get some crit bonus for those of you who are into the thing, and he does have more than 3 traits. He actually has linguist because he speaks, I think, a bit of Gaelic.
Yeah,
which I think qualifies.
Okay.
If LaRoque counts,
oh, does
he
is LaRoque a linguist?
Yeah, he speaks a bit of French, and that's all I needed.
Wow.
And then you have that line when they're reading the books, and Janeway says, "Tell me you don't believe the stories," and he says, "Believe them, no, but I respect them." So we gave him spiritual because that whole section, it's after she modifies him, but that section is sort of him trying to better himself emotionally, philosophically. So I think that fits.
Yeah, I think we were having a bit of a conversation about that because you're like, he's not really like showing a belief in it, but like the fact that he respects him shows that like he's not entirely atheistic in this respect. So yeah, so you get a crummy. It's a mega. You've got to have a crummy set command dip at some point.
I mean, he's a good one, but
yeah, exactly. That's the kind of the aim. If you're gonna have a command dip suck, you got to at least make them decent. Otherwise, people, why am I gonna bother?
Okay. I want you to have those big star framed glasses like the Elton John one.
Listen, if I wasn't wearing prescription glasses, I absolutely would. Otherwise, there's just more expense. I have, moving on.
Before you continue, Apollo has a great idea for the Mega. The wife comes back and attacks Janeway.
Yeah, love it.
Great. Revenge of the wife.
The fifth ship in the skirmish is her head floating in space, kind of like the Abraham Lincoln.
So, next one is Liam. He's rare. For some reason, I've put him as Void 99999999, and I don't really. I made this like 2 weeks ago, and I can't remember why. Were we having a joke about this at the time? I forget.
I don't know what you. I
don't know
think
what I
that
did
even with that, he must be better than some. He can't be worse than like the common and uncommon crew.
Yeah, I don't know what I did there.
No.
Anyway,
you were drinking, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I was at work.
Pure
I think.
fusion fuel. Yeah, probably.
Well, he's
Pure
fusion fodder,
fuel.
but there's a couple trades, hologram and athlete, that are not too big. They could definitely get a collection down the line. So,
I mean, Resourceful had a collection. There is no trait that's too big at this point.
If I'm being totally honest, I'm shocked that WRG has kept up the 1 a month, even more than 1 a month pace so far. I thought they'd get kind of bored and drop it by now, but props to them. They're actually sticking with it.
Where is musician?
We'll get it.
Anyway, Liam, he's rare. He's collection fodder. He's sec only.
Yeah, he's fusion fodder.
Fusion fodder.
Because we're going to turn him into the arm wrestling guys.
Yeah.
I like the expression you pulled for him there. Like the screen grab you got from there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you got to have the mutton chops. Like, I feel like if you were going to have this art, you kind of got to... You got to show off, just like we were talking with Thomas Riker. This art must have beautiful and bountiful mutton chops.
So if you're building items for him, it would be his uniform or his outfit. It'd probably be like a beer, a mug, or something, and then maybe mutton chops would be the third thing.
Which crew is it you can build them moustache or eyebrows or something? There is some crew you can build.
Yeah.
I forget what they
tattoo.
Can you build Dr. Van Gogh's toupee?
Oh, it might be the toupee.
I think you can.
I hope it is
something like
this.
that.
This might be the crew that challenges Captain Scott in as far as like just pure alcohol building for the crew build.
Oh God!
All of his items need 4-star alcohol.
Yeah, no, you need gold single pot whiskeys at every level. New player, get fucked.
Yeah, it's like revenge of like the Proton Paris for item builds. Jesus. Moving on.
God, yeah.
Maggie or Halloran?
Non-cow variant.
Yeah, still
noted.
Humanoid here.
Humanoid.
By the way, her arena
Less
quote is literally the only thing she says in the whole episode. So,
oh dear.
That's she was charmed to meet him.
That's why
she
she's
looks
a
very much
super rare.
like what's her name from Lord of the Rings? Who Samwise Gamgee is very much fancies. What was her name?
God,
looks identical, like same kind of hair, sort of bouffant, and you know.
Well, the Shire is basically Ireland, is it not?
Yeah. It's Middle Earth. I don't know.
Shire,
you live in London. I live on the East Coast. Like, yeah, we're as far removed from Ireland as any Brits can be.
That's true.
Rosie Cotton says, chat.
Rosie Cotton, thank you very much.
Cotton,
yes, she is the
go.
Rosie Cotton.
Which is embarrassing since my daughter's name is Rose. But anyway.
That's weird. My son's name is Cotton. Maybe we should get them together.
That's not weird at all.
This might be one for stars, but please say it's not Dot Cotton.
No, it's not. Christ.
Any EastEnders fans out there, thank you.
No, don't do this to me. Don't talk to me about so. Don't. Just don't.
Please tell me why she's Dip Command.
Because she's very diplomatic to young suitor Harry, despite the fact that I think Paris informs him that she's got a pig farmer husband in the wings with a shotgun, I believe.
Yeah, as soon as they mentioned
or something like that, yeah.
As soon as they mentioned the husband, I'm like, oh, we got to give her command now. I think we know how that works. So, yeah. Plus, we already have a 1-skiller. You can't have 2 1-skill crew in the same mega. That's asking for trouble.
Yeah, no. Guess what? Hologram. You debut this mega with a hologram collection, you'll be glad to have seen her.
Chad says, give her the scoundrel trait because she was clearly joking when she said she was charmed to meet Harry.
Ouch. Ow.
Dude out here catching strays. He doesn't even have a crew in this.
Burn. Moving on. Oxenlam Neelix. Ever a better candidate for bartender I have seen not.
What'll it be, gentlemen?
Wait,
like...
Is this so? What are the stats here? Is this with boosts or without boosts?
This is what the stars gave me.
I believe I usually do them as with boosts.
See, when we
because
first
1150 base for a super rare is huge.
I
believe that's with boosts.
Yeah, I mean that Fusion Harry crew was somewhere in the neighborhood of that too.
Listen, when we first started doing this, stars used to give me the stats, and I used to plug them into a spreadsheet and then in the end I was like, this is far too much effort. I'll just do whatever stars gives me. So like, I assume it's right.
One of these days I'll give them like 1 million stat, and you'll just put it in there without looking, and I'll be like, yeah.
I had a whole rigmarole of like, I had a separate fake crew spreadsheet for. I was like, you know what, this is possibly too much for 15 minutes of a show, you know.
Possibly.
15 minutes.
Did it just maybe?
Possibly. Yes, but anyway, another Neelix variant.
15 minutes of your lives.
With costume.
Well, yeah, no.
Like
with costume, because he puts on appropriate Irish wear despite being a Talaxian. Probably the only Talaxian in the history of the people.
Have we never mentioned how Neelix has the most metal bloody mohawk imaginable? I mean, look at that.
It's really intense.
Anyone in the 80s would have looked at that and gone, yeah, he needs to be on the set with Adrian from the Young Ones. Like, this is...
It's like he clearly could have been a member of GWAR without really that much...
I was going to say Van Halen, but that's also appropriate.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Computer, program Neelix Mosh Pit 1.
It's just on the Neelix's head banging. And then there's one at the back that's like dad dancing, like...
Yeah, with his feet. Yes.
Oh, God, not the Neelix.
Computer, CBGB.
It's like Human League, but it's Neelix. Every member of the band is Neelix.
Oh, for some people, that would be just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I was picturing it, and I was just like, that thought makes me laugh.
So Jodmos has just remarked on, isn't that just where Talaxians grow their hair? Do you think it's just how all the hair on their body grows? And of course I'm talking about armpits, nowhere else.
How far down do those spots go is what everyone wants to know.
How far down does that mohawk go?
So Rapunzel Neelix is what we want, yes?
But that's requires some specially made underpants, I think.
All right, we've spent far too much time on this Neelix. He's got a couple traits. He has a collection. All right.
Moving on. Rings 7. Rings.
So this is the height of Irish sportsmanship. I'm told by Star Trek, which would never lie to me. Her only scene really in the entire episode is playing a game of rings, which is literally a case of you just throw like little wooden circles onto some rings and see if you can get as many points as you can. And this was actually kind of a little charming scene, because usually when Seven is interacting with holograms, she's very direct and she doesn't get the point. Like, I always think of the Captain Proton, where, like, you know, you have to play along with the thing. You're Constance Goodhart, my secretary, and she just goes over and kills Satan's robot instantly.
All right, if I can,
if
I can quickly just read these lines, like, I'm not even going to bother with the voices. The lines speak for themselves. She's throwing the ring. She's doing real well. And Seamus goes, "Saints preserve us." She says, "I possess superior hand-eye coordination." That's not all that's superior. The lily and the rose are staging a competition on your face. She says, "Clarify." The fullness of your lips and the paleness of your cheeks, that's enough to make a man faint. She says, "In that case, we should sit down." And then Paris and Kim are like, how did he get a date with Seven by saying the lily and a rose are staging a competition on her face? So it's a great scene.
Can I just say,
it's very
did
charming.
Rick Berman write those lines? Like, that's...
No, I think what it really needs is like midway through the scene for Worf to like bust through with a spear to throw through the middle of the ring. It's like, you're not playing this game right.
It is not a game.
Why do we not have more Birthright crew? We are severely lacking Birthright crew. Seriously.
Yes.
Oh,
we'll get them.
Underrated.
We'll get them. Don't worry. We'll get Bashir with the sneakers on eventually.
Oh yeah.
Booties.
Mm-hmm. Booties.
Booty Bashir.
Is that as requested by Garrick? Yeah.
Now, can we get like scared? We have scared Scotty. Can we get scared Bashir where he's just like got his arms up and he's like from
Move On Home? Yeah.
No, what I really want from that is I want justice for like a decent Dr. Soong, have the dream world,
yes.
the dream Dr. Soong,
yeah, absolutely,
Crow Wing or whatever, the Raven Wing.
All right,
what bird was that supposed to be?
Make your own fake crew.
Okay, we'll do that next time. We'll have an episode for what is that episode called? Phantasms? No, not that one. The one where he has the dreams and.
That's also Birthright.
Oh, well, that's still Birthright, isn't it? Yes, of course
it is. That's Birthright Part 1.
Because you forget that Birthright is 2 parts, and the first part is like 50% Data, 50% Worf, and then the Data part just ends, and then it's just all Worf.
Yep. Yeah.
Guys.
And then Stars wakes up.
And guys, did you know recently we have got a very much fan-requested addition to the game? We have our very first Tellarite in the game, and it comes from, hang on, let me just put this on the screen. It comes from the short trek, which features Android Mud and Mud doing his things, which is absolutely fantastic short trek if you've not seen it, but features Tevrin Krit, the very first Tellarite in the game. Probably not the most famous Tellarites there have been there. Probably, I would have thought they'd have put one from the Enterprise, 3-parter where they're doing the whole.
With the Anar and everything.
Yeah, the Anar, that one. Or from Journey to Babel from
Journey
TOS.
to
But
Babel.
no, we have Tevrin Krit from the short trek episode featuring Mud. Quite a lot of Mud. Many Muds. Man,
all right. I love this flavor text. So, captaining the D-756, Krit happily attempted to claim the bounty against the scoundrel who had stolen it from him, Harcourt Mudd. They threw in little colorful adjectives there instead of male Yadarin, recreated, home, death, destruction.
I like they always address Mud as a scoundrel because he absolutely is.
He's the archetype. It's like how Trelane is the prototype for Q. Like Mud is the prototype for every other scoundrel that follow him. Like it's just a fun character type. I can't believe it took us this long to get a Tellarite. Like I know that they're like even less developed than Andorians in terms of how much we get seen. Like only Enterprise actually went into any depth with them. But it's even still. I kind of would have. I'm surprised we got like some Drek like male Yaldarin or Etana Joel before we got a single Tellarite who they're a founding member of the Federation. You kind of would have thought we'd have gotten one card, but here they are, first one.
I mean, there's plenty of names.
The best part about this card, his name is Tevrin Krit, and his arena ability is crit rating, so thank you.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
It's good.
You just have to.
Yeah, that's all right.
Actually didn't know that. That's brilliant.
I excuse everything else. That's fantastic.
However, he is a Tuesday pack, so...
Nope.
He's basically
I excuse nothing. That's terrible.
He's good for nothing right now, basically.
Yeah, he no collections.
All of his events are Discovery and Pilot, and Discovery is dead.
Yeah, Discovery's
basically. So if you're looking at his other traits, Hunter, Pilot, Merchant, and they could all be something. Like they're not too huge, they're not too small.
Pilots,
I feel at this point we're going to get collections for everything at some point, so he'll hit on something eventually. I mean, maybe this is one of these crew who Idle curses the heavens for not getting him because in 3 months he's going to be in a collection and he's like the only one he doesn't have.
What?
So
I pulled one pack and got him. So,
but
congrats. Don't pull 6 packs. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, don't do it.
Yeah, no, the only reason I like them is for the art. So, I know that you have like 3 distinct looks for the Tellarites. You have like the original one, which looks like garbage because it's TOS and they have no budget.
The giant eye holes where you can see the face behind.
It's so bad. Like there's a reason why the Tellarites never made a reappearance in anything other than Enterprise. And it's really like even amongst like TOS makeup, it's bad. The Enterprise makeup is actually really nice and like it's not overstated, but it's obviously alien. And I appreciate that there's a a good amount of diversity in sort of like their beard hair. They're basically space dwarves, but like because they're very argumentative like dwarves. But they're very there's a lot of diversity in how they look and how they present themselves. And Discovery, I think, has a decent redesign of them that makes them a bit more. They look a bit more sort of Middle Earth, I suppose.
But do you know what? Okay, let's segue. Something we haven't talked about yet is Star Trek Prodigy, because there is a Tellarite in Star Trek Prodigy as one of the main casts. So that might be interesting to see how they move that design forward. So yeah, I think when everyone first saw the design, they thought, "Oh, is that a Talaxian?" Because they talked about the Delta Quadrant. Is that a Talaxian? But no, it's it is in fact a Tellarite, not Talaxian. No,
Tellarite.
No, Neelix's race, Talaxian.
Yeah, he's a Talaxian.
Yes. People are thinking he's a Talaxian, but no, he is in fact a Tellarite, because they look very similar in that kind of sort of shade of artwork. But anyway, please carry on.
Well, when you simplify the art style, anything can look like anything, really.
Yes. Oh, Shade Throne, shit. We can have arguments about Prodigy now?
No. I like Prodigy's art style. In fact, I wanted to talk about this a little bit earlier, but I was reading an interview that Kate Mulgrew put out with I think it was like one of the Trek fan websites, and they were talking about like the development of hologram Janeway and how she's going to be basically the distillation of Janeway's best and some of her worst qualities. And I appreciate Mulgrew talking about that and the process of how possessive she is of the character and how much like she's like she's gonna like some
Delete
people more than others. Yeah, well, there was literally a line where she was like, she's going to respond better to some crew than others. It's like, okay, that's a...
Tell her that sounds too much like Tuvix. Kill it.
Delete the orchid.
So you're saying you're some kind of hybrid between two races. Can't stand that.
I do like those old... It reminds me of those old adventure games where, depending on what class or what race you pick, the text options will be different to you, or like you'll have more charisma if you against different races if you're this race or whatever. So, anyways, the actor for the Tellarite, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, Jason Mantzoukas. If you look up the Prodigy Tellarite and the actor side by side, he looks more like a Tellarite than the Tellarite in Prodigy does.
Oh, yeah, because he's from what is he from?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah,
he's in a lot of stuff.
I thought that was what it was. I haven't seen it, but yeah.
So, anyways.
Are we finally going to get Tellarite development on Star Trek? Maybe so. I can't be excited for that. Because the Andorians had their go, and it's like... It also reminds me of one of the things I did actually adore about Picard, where they clarified that, hey, look, there's an actual reason why you have your two sort of like Romulan variants, and it's because they come from different parts of the planet and they look different. Because of course they look different. Monocultures are stupid.
So in the
not all Klingons are the same. Not all Romulans are the same.
In the last year or so, we've gotten EM3 Green, Shivaline Mares, Sword, Captain Tribble, Chuffed Captain Kukulkan, Spock, and Ichaya. And that's like more than the previous 4 years combined.
Yeah, where it was like Commodore Robert April and...
Thielen?
Thielen, yeah, a few of them. And Ben did say things are moving in a positive direction with Lower Decks, which, not to tell him how to do his job, but if you come out and say that, it better be moving in a positive direction. You can't just drop that and then go, oops, I guess it fell through. So I'm assuming at this point we'll see some Lower Decks at some point, but this run-up of more TAS crew, when it's obviously not the most popular series out there, makes me think.
He's gonna. It's Lower Decks crew, but it's just gonna be like Lavelle's and
Cito Jaxa.
Yeah, Cito Jaxas all the way down.
We're working really hard on Lower Decks. That one episode from TNG.
Dude, they should say we're doing a Lower Decks Mega, and then just bring out like 4 versions of Lavelle and the bartender guy and whatever.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I have no words. I literally don't have. I have no words for what I would feel if that happened.
The most elaborately constructed hoax on Idol. I'd be here for it. I'd be delighted, and it would only be known when the art dropped. Just like all the text would have to be like, this could be like about Mariner, and then it's just like it pops up. It's Lavelle.
Or it's a mariner, but it's like somebody dressed up as like a Gordon's fisherman or something, and it's just like.
Hey guys, Shatner went to space.
Did he?
He did.
Can he stay there?
It's good about that, yeah.
Dude, I cannot tolerate one more dumb red shirt joke with him sitting there in the gold uniform and
So
the other members in red are like, that's funny. Stop making those edits, please.
So the reason we put this into the show notes was because it's quite notable that I have been on record saying that Mae Jameson, who plays Lieutenant J.G. Palmer, she's a bloody astronaut, you should pick her up. And people are sort of going in and saying, well, no, Shatner's been into space, he's an asteroid. Well, no.
They actually changed the definition of astronaut.
Did they fucking
Bezos
really?
Went to space.
Did they fucking
yes,
really?
Yes, they did. So that he is not an astronaut. So Jeff Bezos is not an astronaut,
Thank
and
you.
vis-a-vis
travelers.
Yeah,
yes,
Shatner is also not an
tourists.
astronaut.
Not to take away from what Shatner's done, because what he did, he went up there and he, I watched the footage and he had a genuine reaction from being in space and coming down. It was absolutely brilliant. I love the fact that he went up there and it was, the first Star Trek alum to be up in, the upper atmosphere and into space to see what it was.
True.
Living. It's important to make that distinction.
Yeah.
While currently living.
Good old Jimmy Doohan.
Of course, yeah. But, and he had a very, it's absolutely fantastic, and I was rooting for him, and fantastic he went to space. But he is not an astronaut, and neither of anyone that went up into that kind of... Jeff Bezos is not an astronaut, so, we still only have one astronaut in the game. Not that I'm precious about such things.
You would never be precious about
Of course
things.
not!
To be fair,
No!
You know what? I have to say, I do adore the idea, and I feel like it's like a trope that's like truth in television, like as it were. And it reminds me of that moment in First Contact, where you have that all this development for Cochrane, where he's money grubbing, he's completely cynical, he's like a drunk, he has no ideals, he doesn't even like to fly, he takes trains. And then you have that moment where you do the warp flight, and then they do that turnaround, and through the cockpit he sees Earth, and he has that moment of realization. And it's sort of like you can basically track that is the moment that he becomes actual Zephyr Cochrane.
Mm.
And I love the idea, that there is something in the human soul that responds to that reminder of how small and precious and beautiful the Earth is, and the effect that has on your psyche. I feel like William Shatner's ego probably could have used that earlier in life.
God, yeah. I mean, you saw his reaction, like.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of looking, he's looking out the window and he's sort of amazed, and he comes down to Earth and he's trying to convey the emotions he's responding off, and Jeff Bezos is like, bring on the fucking champagne! And he's just like, my wife died, she was an alcoholic. And, he's just like trying to convey, this is how much it meant to me as a person going into space. Probably the most humane we've ever seen Shatner in his entire life, other than his albums. It was...
Well, when he was hawking Promise Butter, he was pretty sincere, Oh, I'm sorry, margarine, not butter.
Yeah. I mean, no one can speak for the humanity of TJ Hooker, but there we are.
No, I can't say that I followed any of it. The discourse, it just didn't interest me, but my initial and maybe only thought on it was I don't know, maybe he was the right guy to go up there. I would have gone with Nimoy had he been with us. Nichelle Nichols.
I mean,
Shatner would not have been my first choice, but since he is iconic, it's a nice nod to Star Trek.
Of all the remaining TOS cast, for all his flaws, he is still the most, he's 90 years old and he's still doing this kind of stuff. That is remarkable. Nichelle Nichols, bless her soul, she is not in the best mental state at the moment. Walt Koenig could possibly be the other option.
George Takei.
George Takei, yeah, but I don't think he's the most mobile at the moment. But I don't know.
I mean, he's still acting and stuff.
It's just gonna be rough when we lose him, because we all felt every single one that was lost so far, and
yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
I don't want to
appreciate the
bring
time
it down
we've got
too
with them, I
much.
suppose. Appreciate the time we've got with them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The chat poll: would eating a Tellarite be considered kosher? The choice replicated Tellarite. The winning choice was replicated Tellarite meat. Thank you for voting in chat. Do you guys even pay attention to our stream?
No, not when it's garbage like that. What the fuck?
That was. We had to settle a chat debate, all right?
We did?
Replicated, reheated Tellarite meat is the way to go. All right, so anyway, we bring up Shatner because it does tie into next week's event, which I think, judging by the clock, we should end on.
We very much should. So next week's...
He does not endorse this program, nor should you. Jesus
completely
Christ.
throw me bloody kosher Tellarite meat. What the fuck? Next, I can't even get my commands to work. You've broken my entire... No, you have, in fact... Oh, no, I need...
You just have to prepare it in a separate space. That's what it is.
You know, we should cook up some very special polls
Hang
for
on.
next time Ben is on and see if we can get Chad in on a little bit of fun when he's with us.
Wrathful
Just
Kirk.
to see the looks of horror on his face as we go along. It's like, what? No?
Wrathful Kirk.
He keeps looking
Wrathful
up.
Kirk.
Delicious. Yes, you don't know what's in it.
All right, Wrathful Kirk.
Wrathful Kirk is this week's flashback reward, who you can win at the rank of 1/500. An absolutely fantastic Voyager, a Kirk variant, an absolute monster of a man, even if his art is not entirely accurate. Gentlemen, please
Dude,
tell
one
me.
standing.
As indeed.
Not another art rant. Come on.
No, we're not going to, but we will indeed talk about, guys, why should I rank for this event as to finalise this week? Finalise this week's show. Would you go
How
for...
many pint is that beer? 8 pint?
8. So two, every can is 2. I've just had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pan.
Wow.
Okay, so, I mean, are we agreed? Is there a better Kirk variant than Wrathful? Is there?
By technicality, Reunion, Spock, and Kirk.
Reunion, Spock, and Kirk. Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'll give you that one. Yeah. All right, is there a better Kirk variant that you can get right now?
Pound for pound, Roman Captive Kirk as a purple is very good.
I would...
Well, true.
I would put some love out for Labour Kirk. He has a more unique combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Jerry Rigger was inspiring, so...
But would that show up as much in Kirk faction events?
If I was...
That's a point, actually, because security is like the highest rated skill for faction events, so he is, you know...
If I was starting an account tomorrow, I would take Survivalist Kirk over them, because Arena and Gauntlet with 1 star, and then as you add stars to him, he can be useful in other areas too.
I mean, I would give you that.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I feel like Big has a point here, which is that Wrathful Kirk is like a perfect blend of... He is an iconic crew, and he is an absolute banger with a massive base, a great voice score, and they even had the decency to give him an Eng tertiary so that he stands out just a little bit against every other fucking variant. I appreciate that. I appreciate it a lot. It matters. It genuinely matters. And he's got a collection to boot, and it's a hard one, and there are a lot shittier crew in that collection.
Oh, yes.
And he's not even got completely standard traits. He's got Marksman and Explorer, which are like... I could see Marksman getting even a Mega or a collection. Like, you could have some kind of... the Galaxy shooting competition, or like some kind of war has broken out. You need all your best warriors. Like, I could see a fun Mega themed around that. And Explorer we've been toting for a while now, especially with Resourceful dropping. I could see an Explorer collection.
Funnily enough, Kirk's event count, just for characters, not counting traits or anything, was like 20% higher than any other character in the game until this year. He hasn't had a single event this year. The one event he did have was the Explore bonus from the Captain's Oath. So those little traits do help tide you over in the middle of droughts. Backtracking to skill set, they could have easily said diplomacy for the reunion with his son and his ex-wife and working in those storylines. So, in fact, I think that probably fits better than engineering. Please don't go back and nerf him. But the fact that they gave him Edge really works. Like you said, he's still great on Voyages, and because of all those events, all those faction events, number 3 security base, great. the best security seating or the best seating options for events. Like for a voyage event combo, he's just about as good as it gets.
Yeah. I also have to point out, so you'll appreciate this. I imagine you guys also will to a lesser degree. I absolutely adore the Wrath of Khan excursion jackets, like the away team jackets that they wear here. I think that they look so cool and warm and functional and useful. And it's like the kind of thing that you don't see like Star Trek really have like good away team gear until like Discovery again. Like these jackets, I would wear that jacket. Not only is it stylish, but it's useful. I'm still waiting for like away team McCoy because like that'd be cool. So it does have a lot of pockets. You could fit so many chocolate bars in those pockets.
So Chad is asking, yes, this is a lead into a skirmish where the other featured crew are Jodmos and Cadet Wesley Crusher.
We do have Jodmos up there. Jodmos is a great crew to grab. Like if you haven't got him, he is in a lot of collections. He is a Cisco variant. He will shuttle. Like I didn't want to talk much about him this week, but if you're gonna grab Jodmos and you don't have him, now is the time.
He is a collection magnate. He is a Cisco who gets events. He's not quite as a good Voyager as he used to be, but like you still use them on Voyages if you're still using purples, absolutely. And you would thaw him for faction events for the longest time because your direct upgrade from him is high roller Cisco, and that's saying something considering that guy's the number one sec base. You know, that's high praise. But before we finish off, and I don't want to talk about Wesley Crusher because no, I don't want to. Because you talked about
what are you doing? Of
course, yeah.
I'm not going to talk about that. He does have fantastic art also. Shirepoint points out that we have this amazing Wrathful Kirk, and he has his counterpart Wrathful Khan, who's old and arthritic and not so good, and then you have young Khan, who's like a decent 4-star variant. And you have your 3-star. And I feel like we could use a real banger of a Khan card because he is arguably the most iconic Star Trek villain, up there with the Ball Queen probably in terms of sheer recognizability. And I have there's two candidates. There's the really cool desert gear that they wear on SETI Alpha 5.
SETI Alpha 6.
Guess what? I made the same mistake Starfleet did. That'd be a cool variant. You could do a really good job on that because that's the iconic art that's on all the posters. Or you could have this variant where he's wearing sort of like your utility jumpsuit. Like I feel like a young Ricardo Montalban. You could do a decent variant out of that.
You don't open that box there. Don't rip it too fast. You'll lower the value.
You had me at young Ricardo Montalban. Like, give me as much as that as we can get, because he was fantastic.
Can we
and if you want to go with a Fantasy Island Originals variant, I'm on board for that, too.
No, I was thinking a Timelines Originals variant of Naked Gun Ricardo Montalban from where he's in the suit, because he's in...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where he's in the smart suit and is it Naked Gun 1 or 2.5? I forget which one he's the villain in.
I'd be okay with a temporal agent Khan, and he's dressed up like Gary Seven type thing, like a real sharp dresser type thing. Now, that'd be fun Originals, actually. I don't think anyone would mind that if the art was good.
The shipability is rich Corinthian leather.
Dude, we used to quote that in my house growing up all the time. Those commercials are so hilarious.
Anyway, that one was from WRG. Ben, watch this segment and give us a new Khan, please. God, I'm begging.
We do need some new Khans. And please, for God's sake, don't get that Calvin license and give us Sherlock Holmes Khan, please. Not Benedump Cumberlump Khan, no.
Benedump Cumberlump? Is that what
Cumberlump, Tumblewump. Yeah, it's Benedict Cumberbatch. I can't say it properly, but that's the joke, isn't it?
He gets knocked down and he Cumberlump.
Benadryl Cumberland Sausage Khan, yeah.
Okay.
On that note, I believe it is time to end this wonderful show. I have had an absolute fantastic time tonight. Thank you, Auto, Stars, and Big, for joining me tonight. Thank you, everyone in chat, for coming this week. Thank you for everyone listening. If you can find if you missed this, if you're listening late on the podcast, you can find all our shows on the YouTube channel. You can watch us live on Twitch at the usual times that we post on. Join our Discord, please, if you must.
If you must.
If you must.
Wow, way to sell it, guy.
I guess, whatever.
If I have to interact. I'm a busy man. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Thank you for coming along, Big. We appreciate you. You
Really
don't get
do.
enough of you.
By the way, I sorry to break the fourth wall, but he has to rig it up because of the setup of his house to stream from his phone, which has like 2 hours battery. So when we go long, his quality drops. That's our signal to end the stream right there. So
Yeah, that's a fun game to play along next time I'm on the show. When my headphones
Just
come
get your timer on, yeah.
That's when I have to unplug the audio interface and plug in my charger because my phone is about to die. So that explains the change in quality of the audio.
and this show's about to die. So thank you.
Not the changing quality of host. Thank you for coming along.
What are you talking about?
On that note, that's goodbye from me and goodbye for everyone else. Thank you very much for joining. We will see you next time. Ta-ra!